Welcome back to Kevin Pollak's Chat Show. Can you hear me? Have you noticed the infrastructure has changed just a little bit? Those of you watching from around the world can see new microphones. Those of you that are listening, how about that? How about that sound that you've been yelling and screaming about on Twitter? Hey, you little fuck. How about some audio? I've spent a few ducats to re-engage you audibly. All right, I'll tell you. $1.4 million. That's what we spent on the new sound system. I'd love to hear from you. Right? Sam Levine's looking at me like...
Isn't that how much you owe me?
Yes.
That seems
It's the exact number.
like an odd coincidence of figures.
No coincidence at all.
Huh.
We spent all the money I owed Sam for appearing on the show for 6+ years so that you could hear Sam Levine. And I call it a trade-off. Yes. Yeah, so write to us, by the way. KPCSfanmail@gmail.com. Write to us again, KPCSfanmail@gmail.com. Sammy, you had a guest in here last Sunday.
Yeah, we had the great Jack Kenny.
You had the great Jack Kenny. Tell us about it, won't you?
He was wonderful. We talked about his lengthy body of work behind the camera, especially Warehouse 13, a show I appeared on. We're very sorry you could not be here.
A show you appeared on.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's how I came to know Jack, you see, was by appearing on his program.
I see.
Or program.
Say lengthy body just one more time.
Lengthy body.
Thank you.
Speaking of lengthy bodies.
Wait for it.
Nope, can't do it.
No follow-up.
Bailed out.
No follow-up, just a
Bailed
transition.
Out of it.
Now, Jamie, would you like to recap?
How about that Abraham Lincoln? Thank you, good night.
Wow. Would you like to recall where you were a week ago Sunday and
It'll be a surprise to everyone.
and what was happening
that
to
we
you
went to Disneyland.
on this glorious day?
No, one of your, I would say business partners.
Well, technically and legally a business partner.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we were entertaining him and his family at Disneyland.
Yes.
So that's where we went.
We got ourselves a guide, a
Yeah.
plaid vest, we like to call him.
And it poured down rain.
And then-
about 2:00 in the afternoon.
Unlike when you're in Orlando at Disney
Unlike when
World,
you're in Orlando and you anticipate this.
and the rain lasts
expect it.
9 minutes, ours lasted 2
The rest
hours.
of the day, but you know what? We were drenched and we went on Peter Pan in completely soaked, and something magical just came over us, and we're like, you know what? We're gonna buck it up.
Yeah.
And like enjoy the rest of the day. We did.
Which for the non-Jews, not an issue. But for the old Jew, once the rain enters the underwear area.
Oh, it was a horrible day for me.
Yes.
It was horrible. Like I was dressed soaked head to toe. I had other issues going on.
Other
that
issues.
nobody needs to know about.
Nope.
But yeah, it was
They
terrible.
can kind of do the math now. Sammy?
Just so you're aware,
Sure.
I hate to bring up technical issues during the live show.
Sure.
Many of our our viewers appear to be complaining about some sort of audible hiss.
Really?
Really.
Ha
Just a heads up
ha. You know what we call that, Jamie?
on that.
Didn't spend enough.
No, I didn't pay enough.
Didn't pay enough. And now I can't even see J-Mac. Did he pass out? Oh, there he is. J-Mac, you have any idea what the audible hiss would be referring to?
I'm bringing down the levels, but you're going to have to speak a little closer to the mic.
Ha ha ha. This was the thing we tested during the mic testing
That won't be a problem.
process.
I'm just gonna bring it
We
closer.
actually tested the mics 17 minutes before we went live, because that's the kind of show we run. And I was told by the same engineer, J-Mac, that everything was hunky and or dory. All right, well, Sammy, why don't you ask the folks in the room to continue to comment.
Guys, let us know how
on
the
the-
sound is.
on the
This
addition.
is gonna be fun for us.
Otherwise, I want to thank Sean Casey and all the guys here at the Westside Comedy Theater, where we come to you live almost every Sunday. Great shows here at the Westside Comedy Theater. In fact, tonight, Jamie and I will be returning to see old pal and twice guest of the chat show, Mr. Dana Carvey. Mr. Church Lady Carvey will be here
And the church
tonight.
lady's actual name is
Ah.
Edith Bunker.
Eunice?
Strict.
Edith Strict.
Edith Strict.
Edith
Strict.
Strict?
Yes.
Edith Strict is the actual church lady's name?
I'm sorry. What?
Well, if I may, isn't that special? Dana Carvey will, in fact, be here tonight at 7 o'clock, but you won't. You're just hearing this now. But those are the kind of shows you can see here at the West Side Comedy Theater. Check it out when you're in the Los Angeles and greater area. This Wednesday, July 29th, Super High Roller Celebrity Shootout on NBC Sports Network debuts. We're going to show a clip a little later in the show, so a little teaser. Stay tuned for that. I did mention that I was away from this desk a couple of Sundays ago when participating in this Super High Roller Celebrity Shootout. 5 celebrities, alleged, gathered around a poker table, played down to 1 remaining player, tournament style, and then 5 pros, including Daniel Negreanu, Phil Hellmuth, no, not Phil Ivey.
Locke?
All the pills.
Locke?
Vanessa Selps,
Okay.
Doyle Brunson,
Really?
and Antonio Esfandiari. Close to that.
Close enough.
How would you pronounce it?
Esfandiari.
Esfandiari. And we're pals. I think he calls me Polak.
If he
Probably.
wants to give you the Persian carpet ride, that's what he calls it.
Esfandiari?
Yes.
I'll have to talk to him about the correct
all right.
pronunciation. They all played down to 1. Celebrities all played down to 1. Then they went heads up. The 1 representative from each table went heads up for $1 million. The 5 celebrities will debut July 29th. The 5 pros will debut on the NBC Sports Network August 5th, followed by that heads up action. When the celebrities play on July 29th, the show on NBC Sports Network will air for 3 hours. Me, Don Cheadle, Norm MacDonald, Hank Azaria, and your Brad Garrett played down to 1. You'll be able to watch 3 hours of that. You'll see the whole cards. It's your classic television poker tournament. And I cannot tell you what happened. I can only tell you it's going to be amazing. Watch, won't you? Write to us at kpcsfanmail.com. At gmail.com.
That's right.
Let us know how you're getting the show. Subscribe to us on the YouTube. Write a review, you son of a bitch, won't you? Do you just listen to us on Earwolf? How the fuck do you get the show? We want to hear from you. Also, send in your Larry King game to win a T-shirt. We had a winner last week. No winners this week. You know why? Because you all sucked. No, J-Mac didn't send me any. There he is under the bus if you need him. kpcsfanmail@gmail.com. Today's guest, world famous. Jamie, can you recall your meeting? Go ahead and drop the Cannes Film Festival. Go ahead and say it.
We were there because of
We
this
were there.
young fella here.
Our very own Sam Levine.
What? Yeah, it was in a little film called Inglourious Basterds.
Come on.
And we went to the premiere, and then that's when I saw Zoe
Yeah.
across the room, and I'm like, she kicks ass, and I need to meet her because she's awesome.
Yeah, and I showed her a photo of that very moment, and when we worked together recently. But let's talk more about that. To her actual face, please welcome Zoe Bell.
My face.
Zoe hissing? Is Zoe's mic hissing?
That's,
All right.
You cut to me and I'm just doing.
That would
the
make me very
whole
happy. that would make me unbelievably happy.
At least you'd have the explanation.
Well, since we mentioned the Cannes Film Festival for the world premiere of the Inglourious Basterds, let's back up one step. You're in Berlin. You meet a young Sam Levine. Any stories at all from Berlin? Because I just envisioned a drunk Sam Levine wandering around Berlin looking for Nazis. Am I wrong? Is that not what everybody else sees?
Well, you have the first part of that right, but I wasn't looking for Nazis.
No, that was in the movie.
Yeah.
In the movie, there were plenty of Nazis. Hitler himself.
No short. Yeah, Hitler himself shows up.
Yeah,
Of course he did. He's an important figure in that time.
as it turns out.
Turns out.
In fact, at my favorite memory, Jamie shared hers, from the Cannes Film Festival entire experience, because I was there with another film that I was allegedly in, was at the premiere party after, when I first saw Quentin Tarantino, name dropped. He grabbed me by both shoulders as we passed each other in one of those, you're at a party, there's too many people, and you're just passing in the ships. Stops, grabs me by both shoulders, and screams into my face, "We killed Hitler!" Spoiler alert. Sorry,
Yeah,
spoiler
if you
alert.
haven't seen the film,
By the way.
now you don't need to.
Yeah.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. Well, he took just a little bit of shit for doing a movie wherein he got to kill Hitler. But he was still very excited.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't figure out. My first thought was, did he say that to me because he knows I'm a Jew? Why was he celebrating so loudly?
That's my impression. I think
Yeah.
that he said it to you because he's like, oh, a Jew.
Yeah.
A Jew.
Yeah.
He'll appreciate this.
I read it as him screaming in my face, "You're welcome."
He was telling everybody.
It's entirely possible he'd just done that to like 50 other people
Yeah.
randomly during that same party. You know, just like,
Oh, there's
we killed Hitler. We killed Hitler. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it's a proud moment, I guess.
Yeah, what a screening! I do remember, that theater at the Cannes Film Festival there. They boo at that after a screening or during. They boo the filmmaker out of the room. The filmmaker and some of the people in the film get an extra wide leg room, row of seats. It's a very, very storied way to have your film premiere, and great things can happen and not so great things can happen. And I believe the film and Quentin, their standing ovation lasted at least 7 minutes.
Oh,
Yeah.
It seemed
There
like a
was
half hour.
Closer to 10.
It
There
seemed
was
like a half
There
hour.
was an official time, which I now, of course, can't remember, but it felt
9 minutes,
like an
11
etern-
minutes. It really
yeah,
was.
It was a long.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was effective. I mean, it's not often that you get bored of a standing ovation. You know what I mean? You're like, all right, come on, guys, seriously.
Are we still doing this?
Is this still him? Is this for the same film?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did they sneak in another movie while we've been standing?
You don't want to say he's pandering, but if you kill Hitler in a movie that premieres in France,
Sure.
they're going to be pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. They seemed pretty happy about the whole situation. It was electrifying. That I just remember being, when the credits rolled. It was the first time I'd seen the complete film.
Oh, yeah.
So I was just sort of along for the same sort of ride as everybody else.
Yeah.
But just that energy when the whole theater erupts with sort of the same vigor and the same enjoyment of something was just like, wow.
Erupts is the right
amazing.
word.
Yeah.
It was an explosion of a reaction.
Yeah.
People rushing to their feet, which is not the case always. I've been there for both.
Yeah.
Um,
Booze, that must be.
well, I haven't been
Heartbreaking.
there for booze, but I have been there for
Well, booze
a
is different to
tempered
booing.
reaction.
Oh, right.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, that kind of reaction.
From 2,500 people.
So.
Where did we park the car? You literally
did you
hear
drive?
people
Yeah.
grabbing for their valet tickets.
Oh, God.
Did we?
Checking emails.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How's the reports on the hissing going?
Uh,
I think it's okay.
it seems good. I guess they fixed it with the volume change, and so now other people are complaining the sound is too low, and then other smart people are going, well, then turn up your volume, dummy.
Yeah, we have found that people, when they complain, we've tested it, they just haven't turned up the volume on their computer.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
But at least they've got someone to question that will answer that for them.
Yeah, see?
Because I think I've suffered that same problem, suffered it for hours because there's no one saying, turn up your volume.
That's all you've got to do.
Yeah.
So there's no memories of a drunken Sam Levine wandering around Berlin?
Oh, the drunken Sam Levine, I feel like there's probably memories. Unfortunately, my memories are somewhat foggy due to my level of drunkenness
I see.
at times. It was cold, right? I mean, it was cold.
How
So
else are you going to combat the cold?
seriously, you either, wear more clothes or you drink.
Uh-huh.
So I voted for drinking.
And the combination of those.
The combination's wise too.
Yeah.
Somehow when you start drinking, you forget the whole wearing more clothes thing sometimes though.
Had you been to Berlin previous?
Was that my first? I've been there a couple of times. That one was, that would have been my first time in Berlin.
And how long were you there for this particular picture?
Oh my God. Just for the record, for the next however long we're talking, I have no concept of time in my life. Years, months, hours, minutes I'm kind of good with.
So would you be surprised if I told you we've already been talking for 19 minutes?
I've stopped being surprised. I just go, okay, great.
Yeah.
Because if I go surfing, I've no idea if I've been out there half an hour or 4 hours. I just don't know. Wow. But mostly it's more like when I say things like, oh yeah, so I did that movie, what was that, like a year ago? People are like, it was 8. I'm like, oh, 8 years. Like that's a drastic difference.
Yeah.
8 years ago. And
Did this memory lapse occur before you got into the stunt
falling on
woman
my head for a
business?
living. Yeah. Yes, it did. I think I was born with this
As
one.
a kid?
It was just ever since, I remember in high school being like, I'm never going to be that awesome old person who's like, it was the summer of, because I'll be like, I've no idea what summer it was. I have no concept. Even when people are like, "What year did you graduate?" I'm like, "Well, I was born in '78, so that means I was 1 in '79." Like I literally,
Like I was 1 in 79, and then you just go through the years.
I gotta go
until you
all the
get-
way through. I don't retain years and times.
So
and
it's not just memory; it's a math. Math's not great.
you know, it's funny though because I'm actually fairly okay at math.
Are you now?
Yeah, algebra less, but numbers like system stuff.
Let's do
I quite
flashcards,
like.
shall we?
Oh yeah.
7 times
Great.
8. There she goes. That was we just realized our first snafu from not miking the guests with the wire. They can get up and walk away rather easily. They're no longer tethered
We're not
to
tethered.
the show.
Yeah.
One small snag. We've discovered it within the first 19 minutes of the
You
show.
need seat belts for these seats. Just clip them in.
Born in New Zealand to mum a nurse and dad a doctor.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty posh.
You know, it does. I think they were probably much posher when they were living in New Zealand. The reality is the island that I was born on, at least back then, was sort of, it was an hour and 45-minute boat ride from the mainland. And it was sort of an open boat. And, you know, if it was rough weather, you'd have to sit with your feet up on the bench because water would be gushing in and out. And there was, it wasn't easy.
And the mainland was...
Auckland. Auckland, not Oakland, yeah. So it was sort of, the island was sort of social rejects and hippies and pottery makers and pot smokers. So then...
So San Francisco. The
So
island was
yeah,
San
a little
Francisco.
bit
And that's
hate.
where your parents were a doctor and a nurse.
Yeah, so I think my dad was rebelling against the posh. But he owned the surgery on the island and my mum was the nurse. I always didn't think it sounded posh. I just thought it sounded horribly sort of like a bad kid's story. Like, dad's a doctor and mum's a nurse and this one's blonde and the younger brother's blonde and they went to school and, you know. However, the reality is I was naked for the first 7 years of my life eating horse shit out of the garden because mum used it as manure. So it was really not that posh.
So it was a lot of, it sounds like a lot of dirty hippies.
Yeah, pretty filthy ones.
And you say your dad owned surgery.
The surgery. So the medical center, which was sort of, 2 rooms. One was the reception.
Right. And did he move out to the island at some point during his life and say, this is where we're going to?
He did a locum. He was working. So they both went to Guy's in England. They've been friends for a long, long time.
Sure.
Dad moved to, there was a locum that came up in this little country called New Zealand. So he went there and it turned out that it was on this island called Waiheke. He started off just being a replacement doctor there for a bit and then loved it. And the old doctor left. I don't know how old he was, but the original doctor left. And Dad took over the surgery and the practice. Mum came to visit and stayed.
She came to have sex.
She came to get over some other relationship, I think is probably what happened, and got over it quite successfully.
I see.
Yep. And
So much so that she stayed.
stayed and was married within the year, I think, and pregnant a month or 2 after that.
Had 2 of you.
And then 5 years after that, got pregnant with my brother, yeah.
And there's just two
And
siblings.
there's just the 2 of us, yeah. Just the 2 of us.
Get it?
That's all I got. If I sing
Okay.
any further, you'll realize that I'm incredibly bad at it.
Also, allow rights.
Oh,
That's
that
all we
too.
can allow
Yeah.
for the rights.
Yeah, yeah.
I think
Okay,
you're
good.
allowed, what, is it 8 bars?
That's what I meant, actually, is I won't go any further for your guys' sake.
I appreciate
legally,
Right.
legally speaking.
Not to
Not to save your eardrums.
expel rumors of
Yeah.
abilities therein. What age does the study of gymnastics begin?
Well,
Or was there an actual study? Did you just like to flop around a bit?
I just would just throw myself off things and call it gymnastics. No, I was always fascinated by gymnastics. So it was the one thing in the Olympics I was allowed to stay up late and watch. So the studying of started when I was very young, but we were on this island that had very limited resources. So I think they had 1 balance beam at the school. So I would go and sort of like do dips off it and roll over it and roll on it. And that was class when I was maybe 5, I think. And then we
Wow.
moved to the mainland, Auckland, when I was 7. And I started doing sort of recreational, which was sort of an extension of that. So there were a couple more, like, you learnt technically how to do a forward roll instead of just like put your head to the ground and try and get your feet over sort of thing. There was someone actually teaching you.
There were classes.
There were sort of classes.
You had
yeah.
to apply yourself.
Yeah, and I went through medals. So you'd go from a bronze to a silver and work your way up. Then we finally bought the house, we being my parents, of course, bought the house that we ended up staying in, and I started going to a gymnastics club there. And I was 9 at the time, and one of the head coaches was like, she's showing some promise. We should have her come practice. And I would turn up to training the first time and was like, you guys are all smoking crack. There's no way. There's 5-year-olds doing flick flacks, sort of tumbling and flipping. And I was like, I just mastered a handstand forward roll. And I was pretty proud of myself. And I've got people that are half my age doing backflips. I was like, this is just, I don't understand. Again, one of those math moments. I was like, this math is not making sense to me. There's no way I can
Catch up.
I don't. Yeah. 5 years of I don't understand.
Yeah.
And then I guess when you're 9, catching up just as easier than when you're 30.
Considerably.
Yeah. If you're a 60-year-old looking at 30-year-olds flipping, you're like, leave it to them. And
Kids
so
today.
that's
where the phrase "kids today" came from.
Kids
You
today.
saw people half your age doing something you could never accomplish.
Yeah. So at 9, I said, kids these days. And that was the beginning of like real training, where I would then train 5 days a week. And I think it was also my parents going, yes, get her out of the house for 15
and also
hours a
focused
week.
on something you clearly loved.
Yeah, loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And was the Olympics sort of a goal, an actual goal
No, I
in
don't-
mind? Or this is fun, I want to keep doing it?
This is fun. I want to keep doing it. I really don't think. Maybe this is part of my issue with time is remembering back in time increments is impossible, and also thinking forwards has always been an issue for me too. So I just don't think it was ever like, I'm going to do this and it's going to get me to this spot and this spot.
Right.
The further forward I would go, it would be more about like, I want to learn how to flip and not land on my head. I want to get to my feet, and then I want to be able to do 2 of them, and then I want to be able to 3. That was sort of the
Personal goals.
Yeah, I think that's more how I'm wired. But it was definitely, I think also being someone who's clearly a little lacking in structure, time, I really enjoyed having that implemented. Like someone being like, we need you here on Monday, we need you here Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday morning, Sunday morning. And
Well,
you're here
yeah.
for 3 hours. I was like, complain, but okay.
When you grew up originally around manure and dirty hippies,
Yeah.
you needed some structure.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Other than, okay, go and play and come back when it's dark.
Yeah, and wait till you're 8 before you put clothing on.
Yeah, please wait. I
You're-
used to literally, they would put me in my, for school I would wear clothes, obviously,
no,
because
we
I'm sure
understand.
there's some legality that's involved there. But I would come home and I would be missing my shoes, always my shoes and my raincoat. If I had anything that was a layer that I could get rid of, I would have got rid of it.
Speaking of the raincoat, how tropical of an island are we talking? A lot of rain? Season?
Waiheke is just another piece of New Zealand. Like, New Zealand is nowhere near as tropical as everyone kind of expects it to be. It's kind of, it's a little bit like California, only in reverse. So it gets hotter as you go up and colder as you go down, because we're on the other side of the world.
Sure.
Um,
And the toilets go the other way?
and all of that, yeah, the flushing and,
So all the propaganda we've seen about New Zealand is
Yeah,
that
it's
it's
all bullshit.
gorgeous and lush.
Well,
and
it is
green
that.
And
It's
mountainous.
it's a lot of that, but it's not like
And
palm
filled with
trees.
hobbits also.
Loads of hobbits,
Isn't there
no
a giant
palm trees.
carrot? I remember that from Flight of the Conchords. It
The
was like
giant
a
carrot? Yeah, there's a giant carrot in, what town is that? Oh, New Zealand people are going to hate me right now. I don't know. Can anyone tell us on that thing?
Do you
What-
have the internet on that
Yeah.
thing? Giant carrot New Zealand, and
Giant
we'll get
carrot.
you there.
There's also a giant sheep somewhere and a giant soda bottle of LMP, because LMP is our sort of like sparkling lemonade.
Sure.
It's lemon and pyro, and the catchphrase is literally world famous in New Zealand, which was also my personal catchphrase for many, many years.
That
People here who don't know who I am, but everyone in New Zealand's like, hey, you're that stunt girl.
I'm world famous in New Zealand.
Yeah,
Well, didn't Flight of the Conchords start out as world famous in New Zealand?
definitely.
Yeah.
Very much so. I remember them.
Ohakuni?
Awakuni?
Yep.
Yeah, that's where it is.
That's
Awakuni
the carrot capital.
Yeah, well done.
Oh, thank you. I credit to JMac.
Thank you,
He
J-Mac.
looked it up and texted it to you?
Yeah, that's how we communicate.
Wow.
This is amazing.
I like that we finally weaned J-Mac from yelling from the crow's nest.
If I'm ever looking
He'll
at
just
my
text
phone,
Sam now.
that's what it is. It's only ever show communications. I'm not here playing Words with Friends during the podcast.
No, we know you much prefer the Candy Crush.
That's correct.
So at what age are we? Well, I want to actually know a little bit more about the propaganda I've only seen of New Zealand, about the lush and the green and the mountainous. Volcanoes?
Yes?
Sure.
Lots of lush, because there is a lot of rain. It's beautiful. Don't get it wrong. New Zealand is absolutely stunning, but it's not sort of like as white. It's not warm tropical like the Pacific Islands are.
Right.
There is a lot of rain. which I love. So I love it when it rains here, which is not very often, but
Not often enough.
not often enough, clearly at the moment. And it's quite different from one end of the country to the other. The South Island tends to be far more, a lot more sort of the mountains and gorges and glaciers and all that kind of thing. And then further north you go, it becomes a little bit more islandy feeling. At the very top, you get lots of long, white, sandy beaches.
Right.
But it's more forest than jungle, if you know what I mean.
I do.
Yeah.
Is there a natural camaraderie or
With Australians?
with Australians or the opposite? Or did that not happen until you got to the States and all Americans kept saying, oh, you're from Australia, and that taught you to...
And now I hate Australians.
To hate Australia.
No, not at all. No, but there's definitely sort of a, it depends who you talk to. Some
Yeah.
people hate, some New Zealanders hate Australians and vice versa.
And
But I
why?
think, I don't know. I feel like, to be honest, it's kind of an attention-seeking thing myself. But also, most of it comes from the ones that I think count as sort of sport. So it's competitive rather
Well, that
than...
I understand.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
competitiveness is regional,
Yes.
no matter where you go, no matter what the sport.
Yeah, and I don't think that's... I
Which
don't
is
think
fine
that
and
that's
healthy.
a problem. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when we have the All Blacks. Just had to throw that in there. Sorry, Australia. But no, I've never had... I mean, the perfect example is I had when I was in China, surrounded with... Like, I was shooting Kill Bill, and the crew was either American or Chinese, and then there were 3 Australians and myself. So if the 3 Australians and myself were in a room, there'd be all kinds of kangaroo jokes and sheep fucking jokes, and we'd just be throwing it back and forth at each other. The minute one American walked in the room, it was like we would band together and it would be all about bad American jokes.
Sure.
We became a united front.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Almost as much sheep fucking.
Well,
Almost.
sheep fucking is across the board. I mean, Australians and Kiwis are both pretty renowned for.
Yeah. What
sheep
was the name of the sheep in the Woody Allen film?
Daisy?
Daisy.
Oh, bless.
That's correct. Sweet, sweet Daisy.
The one that Gene Wilder falls
The
in
one
love
that
with?
Gene Wilder leaves
It's Daisy.
his wife and his practice,
Yes.
and he's at the end just
Drinking Woolite.
sucking from a bottle of Woolite.
He can't be with her, so he's just chugging Woolite.
Everything you ever want to know about
Oh.
sex. I think
I
is the
love
name of the
Gene
movie.
Wilder.
Yeah.
Still with us.
Yes. At what point does gymnastics give way to the martial arts?
When you get too old at 16 and you have to retire.
16?
16. Yeah, I was 16, and I think it had just run its course. I was getting to the age where I should have been funneled into. At one point, I had the option of being funneled into training for the Commonwealth team.
Right.
But I didn't like the gym coach. And to be honest, watching them train, I was like, that doesn't look like fun gymnastics. That looks like,
Just work.
yeah, like prison camp. It just looked like painful and mean and no fun. And I had so much fun doing gymnastics. And I also just got a bit tall, like dragging a 5'8" around a bar is much harder than when you're really short and your center of gravity's lower to the ground. Everything's a little
4'11"
easier.
seems like the perfect.
4'11's pretty good, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I suddenly had 15 hours spare a week, and was like, at first I was like, yeah, now I get to hang out with my friends and I get to do this. And then suddenly I was like, I don't have nearly enough friends, having not been able to hang out with friends for the last however many years, to fill 15 hours a week.
Yeah.
And also I think I just got physically fidgety and a bit bored, and martial arts sounded cool, and I knew it would incorporate using my legs and my arms and everything.
And your size.
And my size, yeah. And so I went to a couple of classes. Well, my plan was to go to a couple of classes, and in true Zoe style, I turned up the first one and was like, well, if I keep looking, what if I get bored and end up not doing it? So I'm just going to say yes to this one. And so I started Taekwondo that day, and ended up meeting, through that particular school, met a bunch of guys. I would stay and watch the black belts train, because watching white belts train is deathly boring because you're all terrible. And so I would stay and watch the black belts break things and jump and fly and make all great sounds and everything. And a couple of those guys were stunt people. And that's sort of where the seed dropped. The seed had been placed, had been sort of, there was an old guy who P.S. was probably 30. But, when
Sure.
you're 15, you're like, oh, that old guy going
Yeah.
through a midlife crisis clearly wants to learn how to flip. I'll show him and I'll be patient. And my gym coach would train him it turns out he was a stunt guy. His name was Peter Bell, no relation. And he was the stunt coordinator on Xena and Hercules and for all the Pacific Renaissance stuff. I had no idea. I didn't even know that was shot in New Zealand. So I was just like, whatever. I'll show you, old man.
Wow.
Yeah. And I didn't really put that together until I started training it with, or hanging out with the black belts, and they started talking. And by the time I'd kind of got through to my, my green belt or my blue belt, we'd become quite good friends. And it all just sort of, there was a bunch of different places in my life. I'm not usually particularly fatalistic. Like, I love the whole, well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. That works for me because it makes me feel less shitty when shitty things happen. But,
Yes.
but I'm not sort of, I'm not a die-hard fatalist. I've never really.
I don't enjoy the theory that somewhere there's some entity or group of entities with check marks
Yeah.
and clipboards.
Oh, that's done.
So that didn't happen because it wasn't meant to be.
Yeah. So 5 years of training for that, but just so but clearly he doesn't know that that's never going to happen. So,
Yeah.
like, really? Come on.
Yeah. Every time someone says, well, it just wasn't meant to be, I conjure up that group of people.
Yeah. Who are those assholes? Like,
Yeah.
just let me know it wasn't meant to be
Yeah.
before I blood and,
And
sweat and tears.
Couldn't we just set them on fire and then we can get back to our lives and
Yeah.
happenstance?
And we could look at them and be like, well, I guess it just wasn't meant to be.
Nice! And then we go to commercial. Nope. That was a perfect wraparound, though.
Yeah,
Damn it.
I like
I
that.
wish I could have thrown it to Sammy in the field. How about with a quick weather report? Sammy?
Sunny in Southern California.
Thank you.
Again.
Nice.
Low 80s.
Low
Low
80s.
Low
80s.
80s here near the shore.
Near the shore.
How is it there in the valley?
The mid 80s.
It's bound to be closer to
Sam,
Hades,
Sam
isn't
will
it?
barely admit that it's only 3 degrees warmer in the valley than it is in Venice.
Wait, is it only
He
3
refused.
degrees?
Of course, it's more than 3 degrees.
Oh,
it's
I was gonna
13 degrees
That's
at
what
minimum.
I was going to say.
But you ask Sam Levine, and it's not that much. It's not worse.
Compared to the beach?
Yeah.
He turns into
sure.
Charlie Day.
It's worse than Charlie
Compared
Day.
to the beach, sure, I'll give you 10 degrees difference. Compared to LA, 6 tops.
Wow.
Downtown.
Where
You're
do
thinking
you,
downtown.
Where do you live?
Sherman Oaks.
Address?
And wait, did they capture the face Zoe made whenever he said Sherman Oaks? She just was like it was like.
Can I get a
can't.
screenshot of the face Zoe made
You
when she
can't-
heard the words Sherman Oaks?
You can't convince a Venice person, a beach person, that the valley is fine.
Sherman Oaks is lovely.
Sherman Oaks is
I didn't
lovely.
mean it as
Thank you.
Sherman Oaks being anything less than lovely. What I was referring to was Sherman Oaks is hot as Hades. That's where I was going.
It's true, but I'm also a fan of ample parking and paying 1/3 less for housing.
Yep,
So,
no, that's a valid point. The payments
hats
for
off to
housing
you.
is crazy around here. Only getting crazier.
Yeah. My first professional name, Kenny Chen knows this. My first professional name when I came to show business, Sherman Oaks.
Wow.
And someone said, it's actually a place.
Yeah,
You
that's
shouldn't-
taken.
You can't really go as Sherman Oaks.
Shame though, because that is a fantastic name.
Right?
Yeah.
And then I said, how about Woodland Hills? And they said, well, I'm not sure you understand how this works. You're just naming places.
I used to be Naperville Jones. I don't want to alienate our fans watching in the Chicago, Illinois area.
Thank you.
I want to include everyone
For
with
the
the regional
Levines.
humor.
Who are, Mike, everything okay up there? You've come down to test something?
To
Yeah,
hang, with,
sure.
hang with the little people.
How's that two-shot working out for us? Oh, really?
It is.
Fantastic news. All right, so you're starting with you're hanging out with the black belts. You meet this old guy, age 30, who's actually ends up being the stunt coordinator, or in fact was the stunt coordinator for the
stunt
Xena.
coordinator. He was the stunt coordinator since the beginning.
And then you end up working on the Xena program.
Yes. So, yes, it popped up in a load of different places in my life. I'd seen it. I was sick one day home from school, which never happened, and I was watching this Good Morning show with a woman called Mary Lambie. I remember because I found her. This is terrible. Sorry, Mary, but I found her incredibly infuriating, and I knew I was sick because I couldn't get out of bed to change the channel.
And
That's how unwell I was.
What was her name?
Mary Lambie. I'm
And-
so sorry,
and what
Mary.
was it about Mary Lambie in specifics that you
Oh,
found
this is
so?
terrible. To be honest, I don't remember. I just always found her to be sort of chipper in that way that somehow made me feel instantly less chipper.
You just nailed it, though. That's a very human reaction.
Yeah.
You're homesick.
Yeah.
You don't want to watch anyone chipper.
Chipper?
No.
No, don't be chipper. However, she was like, my next guest is stuntman Stuart Thorpe. And I was like, oh, now I have to listen to her. And so I stayed, and also I wasn't going to change the channel. And Stuart Thorpe, who is now one of my best friends, came on the show and was talking about what it takes to be a stunt person and what's required and blah, blah, blah. And I was sitting there just going, in my head, I was like,
Click.
check, check. You know, they're like, martial arts, check. Gymnastics, check. Good attitude. I'll work on it. You know, like just going down the list. I don't know what that means, but I'm sure I can figure it out.
Yeah.
And it just popped up in a bunch of different places, and I started yammer-mouthing at home. I was living at home, 16, and I must have been talking about it enough that my dad came home. He was working at an emergency clinic at the time, and he came home with a phone number because a guy had come in with a concussion. Turned out to be a stunt guy. My dad was like, that's great. Here's some Advil. Can I have your phone number, please? Because I think my daughter should do what you're doing, a.k.a. get concussions from a doctor. I don't understand. That bit's all...
Wow.
It makes sense once you meet my dad, actually, which I feel like now I have to explain him so it doesn't make him just sound like a callous asshole.
I have one very specific question.
Okay.
If you could go back in time
Yes.
to that exact moment,
Yes.
and your dad comes home with the phone number, would you use that opportunity to say, hey, Dad, how about investing in a remote fucking control so I could change the channel? First of all, it's not the 50s. Why are you not getting off the couch? It's remote. You can't just...
I didn't have the remote. I was sick. What can I say? I was lazy. I already had been bitten by the other bug, which is the stunt. But I'd already...
Yeah.
It was all... I think that was, again, the whole... This is why we brought up the whole conversation of fate, is if I did believe in it, those people sitting around the table were working really hard to get me to be a stunt woman. They were like, oh my God, is she dumb? Okay, throw another thing at her. Okay,
Yeah.
how about a TV show?
How
Take
many
the remote away.
signs-
Take the remote
Lose
away.
the remote.
Make her sick.
That's right.
Right, put her in bed.
Put the
Put
remote
the
in the
show on there.
cushions of the couch.
Yeah, exactly. So that
That's
was
incredible.
sort of,
So your dad is treating someone for a concussion.
and thought that's a good idea for my daughter.
Mike, how you feeling over there? Are you checking the sound? Is that what you're doing? You're walking around testing the sound? Look at this guy. Looking for a raise. Got himself big boy headphones. So you want to make sure that people on Twitter should shut the fuck up. You're testing for yourself that the sound is terrific. We have brand new sound, people. Those of you just joining us, Sam has given up his $1.4 million payback
It was worth it.
for being on the show so that you could hear us better.
They are good-looking mics.
They're sexy, they are professional grade, and cost a fortune. So do you, in fact, end up being the stunt woman for Xena?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you were doing that, my first question was, did you feel much like a princess?
More like a warrior,
Okay.
funnily.
Yeah.
But actually, ironically, for me, there was something kind of princessly about having a long wig and getting my makeup on, because that is not, and a push-up
No.
bra, none of which I had done in my personal life.
Right.
And probably wouldn't have for probably another good 5-10 years left to my own devices.
So yeah, let's talk about that. Get him in the makeup chair.
Yeah, that was very strange. I remember the first time I walked out on set dressed as Xena. And I walked. It's always when you walk past it's never when you're looking in the mirror.
Nope.
It's when you walk past a window, or you walk and a bus, when something catches you by surprise. And the first thought I had was, oh my God, I look like a transvestite, because it wasn't like oh no, I look like one. It was like, wow, I really just look like one.
Like a tourist share.
The boobs were like pushed up to the point where they looked fake and like not mine.
Right.
My face had more makeup on than I had ever had,
Right.
and so it just looked wet. And I was sort of orange because that's the Xena color. We're all orange because that's Amazonian. I don't know. It was
Sure.
Amazonian orange, and I had a wig on that was black and not my hair color, and it just was really unnerving to see myself. So I just ceased to walk past windows.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah, I just crawl.
So when you said bus goes by, I was reminded, at present, there's a movie in the theaters called Minions, I believe.
Indeed.
Yeah.
The little yellow guys.
Yeah, and one of those little yellow guys apparently has the same name as I do, Kevin. So I learned this when a bus drove by with a big promotion on the side
Seen
of it,
it.
and it said Kevin farted,
Oh yeah.
written in large letters.
Oh, that's how you learned it? Not from the photo I sent you the other day?
Well, it was before that. I saw
Didn't
the
even
bus shortly before your
spot.
photo.
Didn't even respond.
That's funny because he showed it to me and made fun of you, and then still didn't respond. He said, "Look at this little asshole sending me this with the red carpet in the background purely to prove to me that he's at some event."
Oh,
She's projecting, by the way.
you know what? That's
Someone else is under the
entirely
bus.
fine.
It's getting busy
But
under the
no,
bus
The red
over here.
carpet had nothing to do with it, and believe me, that event was tops. No.
Well, it was like a week after the movie came out
Yeah.
that
Oh,
you
that-
sent that photo. So
That
It
you,
was a
wasn't
stock
from
photo.
Minions. I didn't go to the premiere of Minions.
Who knows?
that's what I said. And
Hey,
Jamie,
there's a
you pointed out the
refrigerator
red
opening
carpet
down
in the
the
background.
street. Sam's
But I
there.
thought that
Wow.
candy. Zoe, we'll get back to you in a second. I thought
Meanwhile, I've just walked out.
I thought the wrapped Minions, whatever the fuck,
Twinkie.
was a Twinkie.
Twinkie that wasn't in regular stores.
Which is actually pretty clever because they look like Twinkies. That's actually pretty clever marketing. I'll give the ad wizards
The
that.
Kevin one in particular looks like a Twinkie because he's the
Yeah,
long,
he's
tall
the tall
one.
one.
yeah.
That's the other thing. Why is Kevin the tall one?
Boom, zing. Now I'm under the bus.
I don't know. It was at a charity poker affair
Ah,
at
See?
the Paramount lot.
Another.
And they had
That's the one I missed.
yeah, and they had a bowl full of Minions Twinkies,
Right.
and one of them said Kevin.
Yeah.
I took a photo of it and sent it to you.
What's his name who won the
Lima.
World Series of Poker? It was a former agent.
Oh, Jamie Gold.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
sent me the email. And
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
Yeah.
just going to say, if there was a Twinkie and it had my name on it and it looked like a minion, I would want you to send me a photo of it.
Thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Zoe. I will do that next time.
No offense, Kev, but I think.
Offense taken. So you're on the set, you're doing the Xena, you're orange, you're no longer looking at buses, but what is it like when you sustain the first serious injury as a professional stunt person working on a giant production like that? My assumption is you can't let anyone know. That's the that's the default. If any sort of injury occurs, you walk it off and you keep it to yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Not even just as a sense of pride, but more about I'd like to remain employed.
Yeah, yeah.
So how serious would an injury have to get before someone says, hey, maybe you want to sit down for a second?
Well, yeah, you pretty much hit the nail on the head. There was a lot of like, no, I'm fine, I'll walk it off. And often not just I'll walk it off because I'm being tough or fearful of being unemployed, but also, you know, when adrenaline's going and you're in the mode of performing, I often wouldn't discover the ouchies, as I would
Ouchies.
fondly respond to them, refer to them, until I was in the shower that night is when you would start going, that feels a bit, okay, that's
That's when you discover sunburn too.
same sort of thing.
Yeah.
Same sort of theory.
Whenever you get in the shower,
yes.
that's when you realize you're like, ooh, I got too much sun.
Yeah, A, you're naked so you can see
Yeah.
stuff, and B, the hot water kind of lets you know when there's open wounds or burns. So,
Open wounds and/or burns.
and/or burns, yeah. But one time I broke my toe, and here's the embarrassing thing about that: is I broke my toe before I went to work.
Which toe?
My little toe
The
on
baby
my
one.
right
The
foot.
baby one on the end.
Yeah.
You broke it before you went to work because
The morning because I was going to the toilet and I tripped up the stairs, which is a fairly regular occurrence in my life, I have to say.
Always better than tripping down the stairs.
I totally
for
agree.
the record.
Far less dangerous. Can you imagine how
Far
much damage I
less.
would have done
Yeah.
tripping down
Yeah,
the stairs?
I'm getting accustomed to not hitting the step correctly and stopping myself on the steps in front of me.
Yeah, I wish I'd stopped myself. I
Didn't work out that way?
no, just jammed my toe. It was sort of sticking out sideways. I went to take a pee and I was crying. So sad. I was crying whilst peeing. And
Quick
couldn't-
show of hands. Who's cried while peeing?
We call it prying.
Everyone but Jamie, apparently. J-Mac?
Creeing.
Cried while peeing.
Yeah. And was looking at my toe going, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? And it just was getting fatter and fatter and fatter. So I just strapped it in my shoe and
Tape it
went
up.
to work. Yeah, I taped
it up.
And we literally got me to work, put my Xena boot on, and we tied it as tight as we could. And I did the whole day like that.
And by
And
we,
then
you
the-
mean you and your imaginary friends?
Me and my group of imaginary, my fatalistic friends around a table somewhere. No, the
Dresser.
No, why am I blanking on this word? The medic. My two best friends on any set are always straight out of the gate. I go introduce myself to the guy or girl at Crafty and the guy or
Crafty.
girl that is the medic.
I was going to guess Crafty was the second.
Crafty and medic
Yeah.
are my two, like,
I
hey
just-
guys,
It's
let's
one
be
of my
friends.
It was one of the most important meetings for me as I allegedly start directing this little indie comedy was meeting the craft service person.
Oh, yeah.
You have to understand. since we're not paying the crew
Yeah, you have to feed the crew.
much, I need them to be fed well and the greatest coffee you can get your hands on.
Yes.
But I
Happy
can't
and
go past
awake.
the crafty table and there's like an orange and some crackers.
Yeah.
I'll kill you.
Yeah.
I'll
Or
literally
like,
set your truck on fire.
ooh,
Yeah.
that's extreme.
Well, I just have to put the fear of something in him.
Yeah. Fear of fire is a good
And then
one.
he gave me a tour of his truck, and I'm hopeful.
Good.
It's going to be. He showed me the espresso machine. I said
Good.
we're going to be fine.
Good. Yeah. He showed me the espresso machine, and that was it. That was the done deal.
Crafty and the medic are your two favorite people on the set.
Yeah, and this guy in particular, his name was Marty, which is funny because he was the guy that dealt with my toe. The whole reason I'm telling you the peeing and crying and tripping upstairs and all those bits is because those are the kind of things you just work through.
Yes. Walk it off.
Yes. And then came the first time that I realized as a 19-year-old that I'm in fact not invincible. Because I think I think all 19-year-olds think that a little bit. And then when you're a stunt girl and you're flying off things and being paid to beat up multiple people every day and not get beat up yourself, you start kind of believing your hype a little bit, I think.
I would think so.
Yeah. And then I had to do this one gag where I had to flip in a harness off a two-story level, but there was a veranda and it came out a long way in the where we had to set the pick points. Anyway, as far as physics are concerned, the flip that I was meant to complete probably wasn't possible. And my stunt coordinator had very clearly said to me, I don't think it's going to work. We should just make it like a ninja jump. And I was like, no. Ninja jumps aren't nearly as cool as a flip. I reckon I can make it work. He's like, I really don't think it's possible. I was like, well, let me just try. And in my head, let me just try is the polite, sort of humble way of saying like, I got this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How dare you think less of me?
Yeah. And I didn't have it at all. And I did half a flip and didn't make it over because I'd had to extend the travel so long. And so I was coming down with my back towards the ground.
Mayday.
And I had wires on that attached to my hip. And they'd done it so that I didn't hit the ground because I was meant to just flip and land sort of feet upright. And then we'd overlap the landing. So instead of hitting the ground on my back, my hips stopped and the rest of my body,
The legs
Keep
and
going.
upper car.
my heels hit me in the forehead.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was flexible, but not that. That's
Heels hit me in the forehead.
Yeah.
Kenny, how many times? For you, did your heels hit you in the forehead? 5 times.
Yeah.
I had the over under 3.
You have to pay extra for that in Vegas. by the way.
You do.
Yes.
Can your heels hit me in the forehead?
Can you heal me in the forehead?
I just want to check in real quick once again. Sammy, your favorite person on the production? Accountant?
Yeah, whoever's in charge of issuing the paychecks.
Okay.
My favorite person on any production is also craft service.
Yeah, crafty.
Oh, yeah.
Come on, get it done.
Not always favorite, but they're definitely the ones you want. You want to be their favorite.
Yes, because they're, hey, what do
You
you
want
want,
them
what
to
do you want
love
next
you.
week?
Yes.
That's what you want is, hey, what do you want next week? I'm going to the store today.
Yeah.
So I also loved that one of my questions was, how do you go about convincing your family that your life as a stunt person had been decided?
Yeah.
And it turns out,
Done deal.
Dad at 16 says, here's a phone number of a stunt person. You should try this.
Suffering from concussion.
Does he win the hippest dad in the world at that point, looking back?
He wins my favorite dad. He definitely, he's been winning that award for years. But my dad is, it's hard. He's an interesting one to explain. It's not even that he's hip. He's like quite possibly the least judgmental person I've ever met. And it's not because
Jamie,
he's
what would that be like to have a family member who wasn't judgmental? I ask all of you. Could you imagine?
freakish. It's freakish.
That's truly freaky.
Yeah. And it's not like he's like, hey guys, welcome. Anyone's welcome. That's my mum. My mum's like welcoming.
Sure.
My dad's like, what do you want? Okay, she's not here, and he'll close the door. So you might think he's kind of odd or an asshole, but he just is exactly who he is. Now, when I would come home from school and be like, Dad, I got a B+, Dad would be like, oh yeah, is that good? Are you happy with that? I'm like, well, that's not the point. You're meant to validate me right now. That's what I'm looking for. You know, my mum would be like, that's amazing, congratulations, blah, blah, blah. The only time my dad got excited was when he would come to gym competitions, and even then I wouldn't know it. Okay, there's one time with my dad, I completed this competition. So we were hippies. So we used to do this visual manifestation of
Sure.
the gymnastics competition and how my performance would go and blah, blah, blah. And I'd been really nervous about this one bar routine and this one particular move because I'd really badly hurt myself doing it, and I had a bit of a mind block, and my dad had done a lot of work with me. He and Mum came to watch the gym comp. I nailed this bar routine, and I was so stoked. And I remember looking up and seeing them in the audience and being like, yeah, and waving. And then and it was the last apparatus of the competition, and I ran up to find them, and Mum was there, and she was all happy. I was like, "Where's Dad?" And I was kind of a bit hurt that he wasn't
Sure.
there. She was like, "I think he's gone to the toilet," and I was like, "Oh." So of course, me being, I don't know what I was thinking, but I went to the toilet to go find him, the men's toilets apparently. But on the way to the toilet, I found him hiding behind a like a big concrete pillar, just bawling his eyes out.
Oh my God!
And it was like one of the only times I'd seen my dad cry at that point. And I was like, oh, "What happened? What's wrong?" And he was like, "Nothing." And it was pure pride. It just
overwhelmed him.
yeah.
That's the greatest thing ever.
I know, it's gonna make me cry just remembering it. But he was like, very British.
Yeah.
You know, like his dad and him hadn't seen each other for 7 years at one point. I think it was the first time I was meeting my granddad, whose nickname is Grumpy.
Perfect.
Yeah, my grandma is Binky and my granddad is Grumpy, so it was always Grumpy and Binky.
So there are some Jews in the background.
Yeah. And they would shake hands. So their family is not a touchy-feely.
They shook hands.
After 7 years, "Nice to see you, son." I was like, "What? Aren't you gonna hug and do stuff?" So yeah, the crying for pride was kind of a new thing to my dad at that point. I think he's
Now-
got really good at crying now with his old age.
Is
Way
it-
better.
Way better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Toilet paper commercials.
I remember that
puppy dogs.
transition for my dad when the commercial made him cry, and he went,
Yeah.
"Oh, all right,
That's happening.
we've turned a corner."
Yeah. I quite like it now.
Yeah, the animated bear knows which toilet paper to use, and you find that sad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's fantastic. What a wonderful world this has become. Before we went on the air, as it were, that's what we are, you used the term the God call. So I'd like to go to that moment in time and just get the geography and place you're at, life, career, when the first so-called God call comes.
First God call. I was in LA, actually. So there's a lot of... So the basic catch-up... I'll just keep talking and you stop me if it gets waffly or boring.
It's all great.
Okay, good. So the Xena thing happened. At the end of Xena, there was...
All in New Zealand.
all in New Zealand. The whole thing shot in New Zealand.
Had you yet to come to America at that point?
Yeah. I mean, we'd stopped in America with the family to do Disneyland and Universal Studios on the way to England to visit actual family.
Sure. So you hadn't come to America with Arsenio Hall or Eddie Murphy?
Not yet.
Okay.
No. That was always the plan,
Okay.
but that hadn't yet happened. So I'd come. This time I came to America because there was a documentary called Double Dare that the director Amanda McKaylee was shooting. It was about two stunt women, Jeannie Epper, who was one of Wonder Woman's stunt doubles back in the day, and me being the sort of the younger version of her, doubling Xena, blah, 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 blah. I was on my way to Canada for 3 months because work kind of dried up in New Zealand after the Pacific Renaissance, who did Xena and Hercules and all that stuff. They packed up right around the same time that the Lord of the Rings franchise sort of was like, right, we're done with those movies. And so the whole of New Zealand was a bit like, just went into, there was like 8 crews worth of people that were suddenly unemployed that had been
Yikes.
permanently employed for many years. So I was like, well, America will never take me. How about Canada? We're a Commonwealth. They'll love to have me. So I was on my way there for 3 months. And on my way there, I stopped in America. So this bit would get waffly, but basically the auditions for Kill Bill were happening. I had no idea because why would I? And he was having trouble, he being Quentin, was struggling with finding doubles for Daryl and Uma because there was a shortage. I think Charlie's Angels was filming. There was a couple of other sort of women-driven action films, awesomely enough, that were happening that had sort of snagged all the taller, fight-savvy females that would normally be up for those roles. And somehow through the Double Dare connection and this and that, it was one of those like, well, there's this girl from New Zealand that's in town and maybe she should come to one of the auditions. I went to the audition.
You were contacted through by your agent, by somebody's
No,
agent?
I didn't even have an agent. I didn't even have a headshot. I'm not even like, I mean, I don't mean to make New Zealand sound backwards because actually I think it wasn't New Zealand. I think it was just that I was somewhat backwards. I didn't have a show reel. I didn't have a headshot. I didn't have a resume. I never needed it because in New Zealand,
working.
well, and also if you needed a tall girl who could fight, there was me and one other girl. You know,
Yeah.
like it really was. The pool was that small.
Sure.
So I very quickly did a turnaround and I got all of that stuff together, not the show reel, but I got together the headshot and the resume and turned up to this audition. And I don't know how to explain it in a way that it sounds realistic, but I really didn't have any. any idea that this was an opportunity other than to audition for a Tarantino movie. I mean, I literally was like, I'm going to go home and motherfuckers going to be buying me beers because I auditioned for Quentin Tarantino. That was as grand as the possibilities
I
got.
get that. I get it.
I mean, it's sort of to the point where I'd drunk a bunch of beers the night before. I'd gone to the stunt training in the morning, and I was up and down high towers and exhausting myself.
Yeah.
And turned up to this audition, shattered. I mean, you can see the audition in Double Dare, and I, on the mini tramp doing these things, and I just can't land it. My legs just are giving out. In audition, in front of Quentin Tarantino and Uma Thurman and Ethan Hawke, reality bites, what? You know, one of those moments, and I'm just eating it in front of these people, just like.
And are you quickly explaining? How do you deal with eating it in front of these people in that moment?
I was laughed, and I was like, wait, seriously, I've got this. Let me try again. And I would just try again and eat it and be like, oh, this is so annoying. Wait, let me try again. It just didn't occur to me that I was missing an opportunity by fucking it up.
Right.
It was just frustrating that I couldn't do what I knew I could do.
Yeah. Sure.
You know, and the irony being, when you talk to Quentin, a huge part of what made him go, that's who I want, is the fact, not the fact that I kept fucking it up, but the fact that when I did fuck it up, I laughed and got up and went to do it again and again and again because I knew I could do it. You know, and it's not like I was obviously attempting something that I was incapable of.
Right.
That and I think I have facial structure similar to Uma. That may have had something to do with it, but I'd like to think it's because I was tough and laughing a lot. That's what I'd like to think.
Yeah, and a gamer.
Yeah, I was game.
Yeah.
And so the God call was 3 days later. I was expecting to go to Canada on the Sunday, and I think it was like the Thursday or the Friday night. And I got a phone call from the American stunt coordinator that was attached and was like, so just wanting to check your schedule. And I was like, what schedule? I'm unemployed. Like, I don't know.
Let me check. No,
wait.
Open.
No, Canada on Saturday. Yep, that's pretty much it. And he was like, so how do you feel about China? And I was like, I'm not getting what you're throwing down. I don't know. China sounds cool. He's like, so we want you to double Uma and come to China for 3 months. And I was like, it was at that point that I realized, wow, I should have really not drunk beers before that audition, and I should have been really terrified, and I should have been feeling really upset with myself that I was screwing it up. And then that was all overtaken by, I have to call my mum and dad.
Yeah.
I just couldn't quite wrap my head around it. It was that kind of, I can only imagine how much more intense that must feel when it's something you've been driving for your whole life. Right. I don't know if maybe that makes it more overwhelming or less overwhelming, but I was completely overwhelmed by, I have no idea what this direction means for my life. I'd never worked on a big feature film. I'd never worked outside of New Zealand. I'd never worked with, Lucy Lawless, obviously famous, but to me, not much, because I hadn't watched Xena before I started working on the show.
Sure.
It was just a whole bunch of firsts that I just could not wrap my head around. First flying business class. Hello. What?
Yeah.
My first real crafty, back to bring that one around again. On Xena, we used to have something called the tea table.
Sure.
Which is no exaggeration. It had tea on it. Like hot water and tea bags and coffee, milk and sugar if you wanted. Occasionally, a crew member, often myself, would bring in a pack of cookies that would just be on the tea table.
Biscuits. Biscuits.
And that was what you had during the day. And then at 4 o'clock every day, you had AT, which is afternoon tea, and it would be sandwich or soups that would be taken around, and that was it. Needless to say, I got fat on Kill Bill because I was like, what is this truck? This is like heaven on wheels.
Yeah.
And I've maintained a really healthy relationship or unhealthy relationship with Crafty ever since.
Now, off to China we go.
Yeah.
3 months, they're saying.
Yeah.
But it really ends up being...
Well, it was 3 months in China. The whole shoot, God, how long did the whole shoot end up being?
For someone with no concept of time.
I was just about to remind you of that.
Somebody must have told you.
Yeah. Well, in my head it was 9 months, but I don't think it could be 9 months.
Well, I was thinking 9 months when he ends up with 2 films worth of footage.
Because we had a month off, or I had a month off over Christmas. They shot in Japan. I went back to New Zealand. Then we came back and shot in America. Then I was injured at the end of that one. And then Mexico. I think maybe it was close to 8 months or something then.
The injury.
Yeah, I didn't even finish the first time around. This is great. This is like I'm drunk and I'm not. this is how it goes when I'm drunk.
Well,
like, wait, I never finished that last story.
No. In research, we love jumping around.
Yeah,
honestly.
me too. jump around.
In research, there was a moment where at the 2005 MTV Movie Awards, Quentin said something to the effect that you had
Broken my back.
maybe broken your back and didn't know it.
See, and now this is where wires get crossed, because the first injury that we didn't complete was when I broke my back on Xena all that time, and I knew about it. Believe me, I knew about it. And to finish that one, just because we love jumping around, that moment when someone told me you need to sit down and go home didn't happen when I broke my back. It was 2 weeks later when I was like, I'm fine, I'm coming back to work. And we had to do this fight. And one of the bad guys breaks a chair over my back, and I was like, I'll be fine, I'll put a back pad on. I'll put 2 on to make someone else happy. Fine, I'll put 2 on. Put 2 back pads on. They break the chair over my back, and I just dropped. The air was gone from my lungs, and I dropped, and I was crying sort of completely involuntarily, which
It's not.
is not how I roll, particularly on set. I mean, now, as an actor, I have to do it all the time, which is a whole other terrifying thing obstacle I've had to tackle in my life. But at the time, vulnerable and crying was not how you ever saw me. And the second unit director, Paul, came up to me, who I'd been working with since the beginning, and was like, here's something that I don't think you've learnt, but you need to learn today. You need to go home and you need to not come back until you're fixed, because we need you, but we don't need you broken. We can't use you broken. And it was that moment where because in my head I was like, must turn up tomorrow, must turn up tomorrow, must turn up tomorrow. But if I'm broken, I'm no good to anybody.
Nope.
Not just myself, not just like, forget whether you can walk again if you fuck with your spine, and that was the first time that I was like, oh, it's more professional to look after myself as a tool than it is to just be tough,
Yeah. And also, well, for me, when I hear broke my back,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a version of that where you do show up at work.
Well, so my broken back was a fractured vertebrae. So when I bent backwards, the sticky outy bits on each of your vertebrae,
Which is what we all call them.
we all call them, because, who
Sticky
really
outy
knows?
bits.
Sticky outy bits. There just wasn't enough room, so when they pushed against each other like that, one just cracked through there, which resulted in I just have to rest, because there is no, you can't put me in a cast. There was no surgery required. It wasn't nearly as nasty as it could have been, but it was the safest kind of wake up call I could have got.
You have to heal.
It was a big enough deal that it put me on my bum for a long time, but it wasn't a big enough deal that I couldn't get off my bum again, which is
That's everything.
That's the kind of
Which then allowed you to do a version of breaking your back while working on Kill Bill.
So then
or
on
no?
Kill Bill,
Yeah.
I fractured my wrist horribly. Actually, I didn't fracture it. I dislocated it and busted a bunch of ligaments and had to have reconstructive surgery and blah, 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 which was so much worse than my back injury.
This is visual. The camera can see this.
Well, I just couldn't work. I couldn't use it. I had pins sticking out of my wrists for 3 months. It was
Sticky outy bits made of metal.
sticky outy bits that weren't my personal sticky outy bits. They were sticky outy bits that shouldn't be there. And I couldn't crawl. I couldn't crawl for a year. So for someone who's been walking on her hands since she was 8 or 9, it was terrifying. That one messed me up. The pain was nothing compared to the identity crisis that followed,
Now what?
and that I was completely unwilling to admit was present. I was
Yeah.
like, I'm fine. Everything's just like falling apart. I'm lonely.
Yeah.
All by myself in LA, 22, injured, miserable, so miserable.
That was during the LA shoot of what would become Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Yeah, it was
Right.
at the very sort of end part of the shoot. So I'd done most of it. Unfortunately for me, it happened right before we went to Mexico. And in Mexico is where the bride kills Bill. And I was like, you're fucking joking me. I've just spent a whole pregnancy worth of my lifetime, in terms of it being 9 months, on this movie. And I don't even get to kill Bill. This is some bullshit. But instead, they took me down to Mexico. And I put a waterproof sock over my wrist, and I floated around the pool eating quesadillas and drinking margaritas and welcoming crew members home when they got back. So I wasn't too hard done by.
I see.
Not too hard done by. And one of the best stunt women in the business replaced me, so I felt pretty good about that too.
Walk me through, if you wouldn't mind, how long it takes to shoot the giant restaurant scenes.
House of Blue Leaves.
House of Blue Leaves, and were the 5, 6, 7, 8s okay, just sitting around waiting to shoot their stuff?
They just sat around for the full 2 months. Just
Yeah,
like,
because I don't know, maybe the third time I saw the film, out of many more than that, it suddenly dawned on me that's a real band. Was
Yeah.
my thought,
Yeah.
assumption.
Mm-hmm.
That's a real band, and they sat around on set, waiting, day after day, week after week, having never talked to anyone about what that shoot was like or how Quentin Tarantino works. Just knowing the Jedi Master artistic nature of someone like him, being a true auteur and original,
yeah.
that making the time to shoot them when all of the stuff of the stunts is one of the greatest things about the film. Everything that takes place in that restaurant.
Yeah.
And so making the 5, 6, 7, 8s a priority.
You know, I would love to comment on those things, but I think I was so
Oblivious.
like,
Yeah.
it was like going to New York City for the first time and then someone being like, so what color was that footpath you were walking on? You're like, I don't know. My head was like up the whole time being blown away. I was so overwhelmed by what was going on.
Is it a giant soundstage? And
Massive. Yeah, we were shooting at the Beijing studios. House of Blue Leaves was quite possibly, at that point, it was the biggest scale set I'd ever been on. So the whole studio was decked out like an amazing restaurant that we all wanted to like hang out at and drink and eat amazing food. We all were like, so rough working here and not like drinking, you know, what is going on? But there were so many people and the scale was so huge. I think, I have no recollection of whether they were waiting around or not, because I was waiting around, but I was loving every second of waiting around. So it never occurred to me that anyone would be feeling any way other than how I was, you know. And, you know, there was music playing in between takes, and there was, you know, it certainly didn't feel, I don't think anyone was feeling, I don't know, I don't think anyone was feeling taken for granted in any way, shape, or form. And I think, I don't know what they thought about how integral they were in that scene.
And this was shot in 04, 05?
Really?
02.
Thank you. I'm like, my time thing, Kev, my time thing.
02.
Because it came out, first one came out in 2003.
Yeah, so because I got here around 2001, I guess. Thank you. I'm going to write that down.
So long before the iPhone, was it long before Quentin had enacted his rule, no cell phones on set? Or was that something you experienced? You probably experienced that in Berlin.
Oh, we
Oh,
certainly did.
definitely in Berlin. Yeah. I mean,
But
on
not
Kill
way
Bill-
back in 02.
Well, in Kill Bill,
There were cell phones, of course, but
Yeah, I didn't
no one's
have
checking
one.
online on their cell phones.
Yeah, there were no,
No, but I'm-
smartphones.
but I'm pretty sure there was still the no cell phone on set. I'm pretty sure, and I remember being like, whatever, I don't have one from New Zealand. My phone doesn't even work here, people. So, but yeah, that's for as long as I can remember. That's just been a standing
Yeah.
rule.
And
One I really appreciate.
how much rehearsal goes into, is it just rehearsing up to each gag? Are they still called gags, by the way?
Yeah, sure.
How much rehearsal? So like the sword fighting where they just keep bringing in more of those guys. It's so fantastic. So is it X amount of time to rehearse each gag as it comes? Or are there weeks and weeks of rehearsal to go through the various gags first?
Weeks and weeks, because it's all got to be choreographed.
Yeah.
And so those guys, the fight team were in rehearsals out working with Uma and Daryl and Vivica and all of them really for
Lucy
I know
Liu.
I did, and Lucy Liu, she was awesome. I know I did 3 weeks of training, I think, in China, but by the time they'd hired me, I didn't do much training back in LA until we got back to LA. But those guys had been training for weeks, maybe even months beforehand.
And how much samurai sword fighting experience had you up till then?
0.
All right. Okay, easy to assume. I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah.
And then how long does that take to at least make it appear as though you're as masterful
Well, I think,
as Black Mamba
yeah.
must ultimately be?
Well, I've come to the conclusion that in my line of work as a stunt double, I was basically a mimic. I never felt comfortable calling myself a martial artist because I trained with martial artists that should feel comfortable calling themselves martial artists, and I didn't train like them. I didn't study or take on the philosophy the way they did. I never got to the ranking of black belt that they did. You know, I was like, I like the sport of it.
Right.
I like the dedication of it, and I like the science of it. That's the appeal to me. So when it came to my work, I'm a mimic. I'm a physical mimic. I basically I fake it for a living. I am like the porn star of the action world. That's
That'll be a quote. Can we just get that snip,
That's-
please? Porn star of the action world.
so it's sort of with the. I remember when
But
I was.
if you're designing, who's doing the choreography?
I wasn't designing the fights. No, definitely not. That's like Master Wu Ping and all of those guys. And they spent. I mean, watching them work is. I could have sat for hours and just watched it. It's amazing. I mean, it gets to the point where it's almost like watching dance when you've got that many people coming in. It's just a massive production that's just, and they would just teach you what they needed you to know to slot you in. And originally, to be honest, I was meant to be the crash and smash double is how Quentin described it, which I didn't realize. And I'm kind of glad I didn't realize because just because I'm a sane person, crashing and smashing is the least favorite part of being a stunt girl. I like the flipping and the flying way better than the eating shit and landing on your head, but call me crazy. But we had another woman, Satya, who was there to be...
The flying girl?
No, she was there to do the sword stuff, to be sort of like the wushu double, and a guy called Tiger to do the wire work. I, of course, had spent the last 4 years of my life in wires and doing fight stuff, just assumed that I was there to do the lot. So I would go to the training and I would just watch and learn. I just knew everything that I thought I was supposed to be doing until,
Right.
And then at one point, they weren't teaching me the fight beats. They were teaching Satya, and I would remember the fight beats, but I didn't understand the moves because I'd never studied wushu. Whereas she, it was beautiful to watch her perform this stuff. But they'd teach her, she'd go away, and I'd see her kind of forgetting what the choreography was. And I remember one time being like, "It's that move where you kind of do that big round thing." She was like, "Oh, you mean this?" And I'm like, "Yep, that, whatever that is, that's, yes, that's what I was trying to do." And we kind of came to an arrangement where I remembered all the choreography because that was a skill set that I had that was very fresh from Xena. And I would sort of reteach her the choreography, and she would teach me the moves as we went. So I was basically studying from her how to fake it.
Right.
Which worked out very well because in the end, I think I just became Quentin's favorite person to use. I think probably, I mean, A, I think he liked me, and B, I think because I look so like Uma when I'm in the whole get up, that it just sort of, he liked being able to use both of us and not have to cut away because you now know it's a stunt girl. Like there's plenty of shots in Kill Bill where it's me. Like I can see my face, you know. And I had to be like, "Hey, Quentin." He's like, "Yep, that's you." I'm like, "Really? That's amazing," you know. So I'm sure that was, I mean, I imagine if I was directing, I would love to have that sort of freedom between
Oh, gosh, yes.
the two halves of a character, you know.
And so how little is Uma actually allowed to do? Because I remember just watching her do this move, thinking, even if that thing's made of rubber, that's starting to hurt about now.
Oh yeah, and we both did that. There's one part with, well, maybe I shouldn't.
Sure.
There's where you're like, do it.
Do
There's
it.
one part where
Yeah.
I was doing, and you know, you got to do the twist, and I was getting, anyway, whatever, and I must have just left the twist a little late, and my skin was starting to get a bit raw, and you can see it. There's skin left on the thing. and I
Yes,
was
there
like,
is.
That's my skin.
In the movie.
In the movie, that's my skin.
I always assumed it was an application of some sort from the
Nope.
prop department
No, that
or
was
special effects makeup.
That was literally my skin.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's fine. Back to how much Uma did.
Over
Uma,
and Jamie's like, yeah.
Uma did
Because
a
it's
lot.
such an effective thing that he kept in the film through the
You
edit. It was
can
like,
feel it.
oh, we're
The
keeping
one-inch
that.
punch. That's everything. The one-inch
Yep.
punch.
Yeah, I felt it.
Isn't that-
definitely felt
Yeah, you
that.
did.
He was probably like, yes. But as far as Uma,
Was she allowed to do anything?
yeah. Are you kidding me? Quentin's a fan of like doing everything in camera and as realistic as possible, and
Okay.
she worked her ass off.
Well, one could make that assumption. I just
Yeah,
didn't know.
and you know, and she just had a kid. Like, I mean, I was 22, and I'd just come out of New Zealand, a bit of a tomboy. I was like, yeah, she's doing great. I look back now as a 30-something-year-old woman, I'm like, oh my God, if she had never done action like that before, she'd just had a kid, she's in China. Like, I'm seriously impressed by her, by what she gave to it.
Well, there was enough where you say Quentin loves action into the camera. There was enough where even if you're in show business and your brain assumes stunt woman, stunt woman, stunt woman, there is enough
Oh, yeah.
of her face
Yep.
doing various things.
There's stuff where we both did the same gag, and he's used the one that she did
Yeah.
because he wants,
Why not?
and because it's the good angle. You know, that angle looks so much cooler, and if we do that angle with Zoe, we see too much Zoe. you know?
And yeah, and the Pai Mei, the master teacher,
Gordon?
dude,
Yeah.
that's a real guy.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
yeah.
a real.
Wait, the character, the guy Gordon Liu who plays Pai Mei, so good.
Yeah.
But Pai Mei is a reoccurring character in loads of Hong Kong films.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean the actor.
Gordon.
So Gordon is a real action star in his
Yeah.
homeland,
Yeah.
but action star like doing his own stunts kind of action star.
Yeah.
Because I believed he jumped up on the samurai sword.
Yeah, yeah.
And stood on the end
I
of
know,
it.
action star, like he's a little legend. I was like, oh my God, I'm beating
Yeah.
up Gordon Liu.
And so, really, what was that? Can you elaborate a little bit? How was his English, first of all? Could you communicate?
Yes, totally. Listen, after a couple of months of being there, because I was surrounded by just the Chinese fight team most of the time, I spoke some weird, broken half Mandarin. I'm going to use way more halves than I needed in a whole because my math is bad apparently, but half Mandarin, half Cantonese, half English, half sign language, half drawing. We would do a lot of drawing to each other to communicate. So by the time I'd hung out with them for like 3 or 4 weeks, I was like, hand me any Chinese person. I got this.
Wow.
I can get through to
And I believe that's 5 halves. Sam, on the Jew scale?
Yeah, that was 5.
Okay.
5,
Hey, 5 halves make a right.
right?
Ah,
There you go.
that's why you have a Sam Levine.
Yeah, have.
I want to believe that Uma was the coolest human being on the planet for you to cohabitate a character with. That's,
Yeah, she
that's
was-
my impression.
Well, and
And you just got done saying how ridiculous it was that she had just dropped a kid
yeah,
and on foreign soil, which means your body needs time just to recover from that alone.
yeah.
And then gets in there, and I believe, looking at her body of work, this is the first time she became an action hero.
Yeah.
Dear Lord.
Yeah, no, seriously, and it was like we didn't spend a huge amount of time socially. I mean, she had a baby to go to. So
Yeah, no, I mean
any
on the set
downtime
working.
she had, yeah,
You know,
on
you
the
get a
set-
sense of someone.
Yes, absolutely, and she was. And listen, I was spoilt with Lucy. Lucy's to this day one of the coolest, easiest, most professional, hardworking, down to earth, grounded individuals across the board.
Nice.
So anybody relative to her could easily look like more of a douchebag than
Sure.
they are. But yeah, I had. Here's my example of Uma when she was in the middle. We had this massive scene coming up, and at one point she was like, "Ah, that really hurt." Blah blah blah. I was like, "Where did it hurt?" She's like, "Here." I'm like, "Do you want a pad?" She's like, "Yes." She lights a cigarette, and she literally just stands there smoking a cigarette, talking to whoever she's talking to about something else, while I'm just like shoving pads in and out of her pants and like just hands wherever they need to be, and she's
Sure.
completely like. It's not like she's being welcoming and catering to me. Which is sometimes less effective. She was
Yeah.
just like, right, do your thing.
Co-worker.
I've got this to do. You do this. I trust you to do this. I'm going to do this. You trust me to do. It was just very sort of,
Teamwork.
yeah, good sort of business work ethic that just worked. You know. Yeah.
It feels like she was a NASCAR, and you were head of the pit crew.
It's so funny. That's literally how I described my first experience with the Chinese fight team when they first put me in a harness. They were like, right, Zoe, harness. And I was like, oh, you mean I actually get to go in? Because I'd spent weeks watching other people do these gags that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, harness, where's that? And I turned around because where I'd come from in New Zealand, I'd go get the harness, I'd harness up, I'd add whatever pads I had, which was never any because I was wearing a dress for a uniform the whole time. But so I turned around to look for my harness, and by the time I turned back again, it was like there were 8 little guys on me. That's mean. They weren't all that. Well, they
Wait
were all
for it.
shorter than me. They were all shorter than me.
Just give me a moment with 8
Yep,
little
hang
guys on you. Okay, go.
Good.
Yep.
And it was almost like you could hear the sounds like, and I looked down and I was in a harness, and strapped to the ceiling and facing the right way. And there were guys on the end of the rope that were ready to pull me in the air. And I was just like, seriously.
Wow.
And I was like, it's like a pit stop. That's exactly the example I've used many times.
Fucking fantastic.
Super efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Still kind of sounds like sexual innuendo at the end of that story. I never quite cleared up with hanging from a ceiling harness. There was no real like.
I think we'll all enjoy it in our own way.
Okay, well, I'll leave that one alone.
Huge in Germany.
Is there any way, any way while you're shooting to get a sense that this is a little more than you'll need for one movie?
For me personally, again, no idea.
Just
Because
the
I was used to
workload and
Xena,
it's
so
the
I was just
time.
like day.
And also, as you said, it's your first giant movie.
No real concept. I mean, I was aware of inkling from crew members.
Yeah.
They're like, wow, this is still going, and we're still here, and this is still going, and no one was
But
unhappy
apparently
about
that
it.
practice doesn't stop, as our very own Sam Levine will express in his experience from shooting the Inglorious Bastards, that clearly there was more than one movie's worth because so very much was removed.
Most regrettably, yes.
I mean, for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Huge storylines removed.
Oh, entire
Where's the
storylines.
second half of that damn film?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Entire storylines are gone. The Cloris Leachman stuff, totally gone.
Didn't know she was in the movie.
Yeah. There was a lot of that. But I mean, so that's why I can never complain. I'm like, well, I'm still in it. There are other people who shot for weeks, months, and nothing.
Melanie Laurent, is that your who?
I doubled Melanie and Diane.
And also Diane
And then
Kruger.
I think I was just there for company, really.
Sure.
I mean, I was there, I died.
No,
in the-
you totally were
I
because
got-
you were there. Zoe was there like a month before you shot anything because
True.
Quentin just wanted you to hang out.
It's quite possible.
And I know that that's true.
It's oh, you do? You have that from the
Yes, you-
horse's mouth?
Yes, you were there like 3.5 weeks before they needed you for anything. And I was like, what's Zoe doing here? He's like, she's awesome. She makes every set more fun. Are you kidding? I was like, okay. I'm just curious.
Yeah, I'll believe that. I
True.
believe that.
That's totally true.
Well, it also suggests that you have a window into the world that is Q, which should remain a mystery to we mere plebeians. But some of the favorite things, perhaps, of working with a true master like that come to mind would be shared.
I mean, the first thing that pops into my head that is that, as of now, having worked on the last however many films, is it's like home to me. It's like the people that are reoccurring that he keeps hiring are like family, and it is. I was doing at one point on Django. I was shooting Oblivion and Django, and they were shooting sort of like. You could almost throw a rock between the sets. It was like then that never happens, and I was like, oh my god, am I going to get to do both these films on the most stressful situation I've ever been in? I'm like, I will never juggle films again unless at least one project is like I'm important enough to at least one of the projects
Right.
that they will either work around or the other person has to. Like otherwise when you're trying to juggle Tom Cruise and Leonardo DiCaprio, I'm like,
Again, I'm
well,
just going to need a moment with that.
oh yeah,
Visual in my
juggling.
head, you're juggling Tom and Leo.
Man, the ones that are in your head are so much more exciting than what I'm actually saying.
Yeah.
But I just remember being really stressed out about getting from one to the other and screwing people around and blah, blah. And I walked on the set, and Heber, one of the makeup girls who was there since Kill Bill, was like, Zoe! And it was like, it's like getting off the plane in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And it's him. It's him for all the crazy extremities that he is that make him exactly the filmmaker he is. There's just this, for me, there's this warmth and this genuine love of making movies that means the people that are important to him and how he makes his films are just important to him. You just know when you're important to him, and it's just a lovely feeling.
Must be.
$500 if you can correctly pronounce Heba's last name.
No.
It's Icelandic.
Can you?
There's 17 letters in it, mostly consonants.
Can you give it a shot?
Yeah, I get
a
to
lot
about
of T's and H's and S's.
Yeah, I just
Too
go
many.
With, I just go with Heber.
Just
Well, she loves Heba. She loves that.
There was some extraordinary stuff in the Django.
The Django.
For you? Some highlights and memories?
Oh, I was like, well, I mean, I was on that set maybe maybe a week. One of my highlights, honestly, was watching Leo work. Like watching him go from being the dude who's like, hey, blah, 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 electric cigarette, hanging out, blah, 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 and then taking that minute that he required before cameras rolled, and then just being this completely other different person with an entirely different outlook on life. And like someone described good acting one time as the way they move the air in a room. Clearly, and this we weren't in a room, but that idea has always stuck with me. And even though we were outside, I witnessed him doing that, and it wasn't like in a wanker way. I'm not saying it to be a wanker. It wasn't like, I don't know. It didn't come from a fanatical place. It came from a total pure appreciation of like, wow, that's someone who is completely committed to being somebody different, and that's how it looks. Like he could say anything. You could change the dialogue. You could put him in a bathroom, and he would still be that person. You know what I mean? It was just that like.
Oh, I would argue.
The pureness of it.
Till there's no more breath in the vessel, that he's the best actor of his generation and wildly underrated as such.
Yeah,
he
is he
suffers
underrated
the Paul
or is he
Newman.
just under awarded?
He suffers the Paul Newman and even Redford.
Yeah.
And has befell others who don't get the respect because they're so fucking pretty. There's some of the work of Brad Pitt that's just character actor work that's truly exceptional on any scale.
Yep.
And he'll be discarded because he's too pretty.
So, yeah.
They all just want to be character actors at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And then there are leading men who are just great at being a leading man.
Yep.
You know.
A little piece of themselves.
Just charming, exceptionally handsome, and super
fun
terrific.
To watch.
Fun.
Yeah.
George Clooney, compelling as hell.
Yeah.
There's some gritty, great drama that comes out of him, but it's a leading man sort of performance.
Yeah.
And Leo's one of those guys who just wants to be a completely fucked up character.
He was someone else. He was just completely. He went from being Leonardo, that I don't even know that well, but you know, you can feel what someone's like, to someone completely different. And it was just. And I remember looking at Quentin, going, it's this weird, like, he's obviously a god and a genius and a dear friend of mine, but I also get this sort of like. This sort of like maternal pride, and I get a bit teary-eyed when I talk about it. It's really lame, but like I remember looking at him and being so excited for him.
Yes.
That this was what he had to play with.
That he was getting.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I just got goosebumps.
No, I sincerely appreciate what that means, what that feels like. Because you're clearly a team player also, and you want your team to win.
Oh yeah. And you want your friends, you know, the people you care about too.
Yeah.
It's like. When I read *Inglourious Basterds*, the first time I read that script, I literally texted him and I was like, "This is your masterpiece." That was all and it was that. It was and I'd read his scripts since *Kill Bill*. Actually, his scripts were *Kill Bill* was the first feature script I'd ever read.
You poor thing.
I mean, spoiled.
Everyone else is fucked.
Yes. Exactly. I'm like, you guys are going to have to work really hard to impress this one, because... but when I read *Inglourious Basterds*, I remember the same thing. It was just that, like, I had no idea if I was going to participate or be in it or what that meant, but I was so excited...
For him.
For him, yeah.
Sammy?
Well, we're talking about Kill Bill and then Bastards and Django, and we're missing something pretty important in the middle there.
Kevin's like, what?
A little movie called Death Proof.
Death Proof.
Well, I have it next on the list, actually,
thank God.
as the birth of an actress.
Damn right.
We're stepping in front of the camera. Jamie, was it after that film that your uniform became...
I wore tight graphic tees and shorts and cowboy boots every summer for 3 years after that movie, thinking I could kick anybody's ass that like stuck to me. Because
like, I'm sorry,
movie.
you're doing to me? Did you see what I'm wearing?
She's not exaggerating, though.
Yeah, no,
3 summers.
I'm not joking.
I love it.
I did. And
And
now that I lost 10 pounds, I might go back to that uniform.
Yeah.
Because that's why I stopped wearing it, because I got too fat. I think I'm going to go back.
It's such a great
like
look.
It, right?
Yeah. I just put that look on one of the characters in this film.
Oh, you did?
With the costume, I said, I need a version of cowboy boots, shorts, and ironic tee. Not that exact thing, but I need a version of that.
Yep.
And that it was, yeah. Just amazing. So, okay, so that's a different phone call from God, as we know.
Yes.
Which is, I need you to play yourself?
That phone call literally, so he'd said at some point, I remember him talking to me and Monica Staggs, who was Daryl's stunt double in the Kill Bill movies, who, coming back around again, was in fact the one who broke her back during the shoot and didn't know about it because I broke it. So that's where the confusion comes in with the story. You know when the bride comes flying through
Yes.
the
In the trailer.
So those are my feet, and it's just my feet because I'm on a thing with a sling on because my wrist is bung at this point because I'm all fucked up. But when we did the wide shot of it, it's me. I run and jump into a flying double side kick through the door, and I kick Monica in the chest, and she flies back against what. There was a miscommunication. We thought there was a padded or breakaway record player holder thing, and said it was just not breakaway. So when she hit that, because we were doing it a couple of times and it wasn't selling, and Quentin was like, I don't know what's happening, guys, but this needs to sell and you've got one more take. And I went up to Monica and I was like, so I'm gonna just really kick you. Is that all right? She was like, yep. She put a chest pad on. I was like, I'm gonna kick you. And she's like, I know. So then she put a back pad on, and I just kicked her really hard, and she broke one of the vertebrae in her spine, and it hurt her at the time. And we thought she actually was like, I think you may have popped one of my boobs. And I was like, popped. I was like, oh my God, what is that? What is that? Is it going to kill you? Like, little do we know I'd in fact broken her back. But so that's where that tie around came in. So anyway, back to Quentin. Monica and I were over at his place, and he started telling us about, it was right before the MTV Awards. We were getting ready to go to that, and he started telling us about his next movie. And it was about the stunt guy who had a stunt car and he killed women with it. And I was like, if anyone else said that, I'd be like, I don't get it. Quentin says it, and I'm like flooded with images and ideas, and I'm like, I fucking love it. It's gonna be amazing. And I was like, we have to be in it, and you need to. What I'd said actually is, you need to cast someone who looks like me, so I can double her. That's what I said. I thought that was a great idea. I thought that was me networking. I'm a genius, like planting a seed. And he was like, no, I want you guys to be in it. And so then I thought he meant like we'd be one of those Quentin moments where the leads are sitting around a table at a bar, and then there's me and Monica in the background at drinking and then getting in a fight and bar brawling, and he'd be go, those are the stunt girls from, that's what I was imagining.
Sure.
So cut to however many months later, the call from God went like this. Hey Zoe, it's Quentin. I was like, oh hey Quentin, how you doing? He's like, good. You want to grab lunch? I was like, what? Yeah, something's fishy about this situation. I don't know quite what, but yeah, absolutely. He's like, right, I'm coming to you. I was like, all right, something's definitely weird. What is going on here? And he was like, I'm bringing you the script. You're gonna love the cover. And I was like, oh no, what happened? And he was like, Robert's done something to it that I think you'll really like. Robert did it, and I think you'll really like it. Rodriguez. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. There's gonna be a photo of Pammy Anderson with my face superimposed on it or something. That's what I was imagining. And he puts the cover in front of me, and it's the Juggernaut one with the car, and down the bottom, it wasn't originally Kurt Russell. It was someone else. So then it was someone else and Zoe Bell. And I was like, I have to take a photo of this to show my mum. She'll love this joke. It's hilarious. And he was like, what joke? And I was like, no, what? And I suddenly got very uncomfortable. And he said, go to page, whatever it was, as if I don't remember, 88. And I went to that page, and there was my name. Cute as a bug's ear. Zoe Bell jumps off the plane, blah, 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 blah. I was greeted by that, and I was like, I'm sorry, but did you name a character after me? And he's like, keep reading. And I keep reading. New Zealander, stunt woman, blah, blah. And I'm just like, wow, you really just, you should owe me something for this. I think that's definitely my likeness, And kept reading. And he was like, so that's you playing that role. And I just about had a heart attack. It terrified me. I was like, almost even before I was flattered and honored and all of those obvious things that are going to flood you, I was like, you're fucking kidding. Really?
How to scare a stunt woman in one easy step.
Like, what? I don't want to be the girl who screws up a Tarantino movie. That sounds like the worst idea on the planet. You're going to have to take me out for beers. So he took me out for beers. We had a couple of pints, and he was like, now let me tell you about the chase sequence. And we got about 2 minutes into the description of the chase sequence, and I was like, and about 3 pints. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. I'm in. That's it. And he was like, I knew I'd have you in the chase sequence. And that was how it all started.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I guess I'm doing that talky bit. You know, it used to be I'd read a script and I'd go blah, 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 or action. And then my brain would break down. You know, there'd be like 3
Stage
lines,
direction,
but
yeah.
I'd split that into 5 pages of what was going to happen and then blah, 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 blah. Suddenly I'm like, blah, blah, oh, wait, that's me, blah, blah.
It's a bit of me, a blah, blah.
Yeah, then I need to figure out how to make that be something more than just blah, blah. How do you do that? Like, how does this acting thing work? And I asked Quentin if I should do acting lessons and if he had any suggestions on where to go or what that looked like. And he said, I don't want you to do any acting lessons because I know what I want from you and I know how to get it and I know you have it, so I don't want anyone fucking with that. He said, but the only thing you can do, and I need you to do this, is know your lines inside out.
Right.
I mean, I used to know the whole script backwards, everybody's lines.
Right.
Read that script a lot with a lot of different people.
Was this something that was ever part of the plan?
No.
Because that was
Part
my
of his
assumption.
plan, clearly.
No, yours.
No.
My assumption was you were extremely fulfilled in your occupation.
I had considered like what it would be like to be an actor. Like how fun would it be to own both sides of the character? Like if I could make, because you know they'd get frustrated, and frustrations would be if one of the people you're doubling is say left-handed, so you have to do everything left-handed, or if their style is like what I consider ugly or I don't like it, or I'm kind of like if I could do all of that and the emotional stuff and I could make that would be fun, but it, not in a way that I was like,
Someday.
so I'm gonna do that.
Someday.
No, yeah, there was no someday. There was just holy shit today.
Yeah.
That was that day.
How ridiculously nervous is take one?
Face twitch nervous.
I appreciate the honesty
Straight
so much.
up.
Because for
face
every
twitch.
actor, you just need to get a couple of takes out of the way on day one. It's a thing. Doesn't matter how many you've done. You adjust the first couple. You want to bang them out. Just get them over with. So I can't imagine you're an actress now and action.
Camera, I'm in the passenger seat, and I don't know. It's on Kim, so it's on Tracy over me, so I'm blurry, super soft in foreground. But I don't know. All I know is there's a camera as close to my cheek as this mic is now, and I have never worked with a camera that close to my face unless it's like on the back of my head.
Yep.
And she's talking, and then I'm talking to her, and I'm blah, blah, blah. And right before we go, it's like the first time I ever did a headshot, and they say smile, and you smile, and then you have to remain smiling, and your face, you suddenly become aware of every single muscle of your face, and if it looks weird, and what's it doing, and it was like that. And I got a twitch on the side of my face that was away from camera, and I couldn't do anything about it because I didn't know, because I was suddenly too, it's not like I could be like, hang on 1 second, because I didn't know I could say, hang on 1 second. I was just like, so I would look at her for long enough and try. Meanwhile, poor Tracy's got me looking at her like, I'm trying to stop a twitch happening. And it was terrifying and I was like, I don't know who to be. I don't know how to be. I don't know what I'm doing. As my hands, should I be sitting like, am I out,
Yeah.
all the technical stuff that, as you say, even just after a couple of takes, I was like, so you know this technical stuff you've been doing since you were 17. Like
Right.
you know where the camera is at all times because you're usually trying to avoid it.
Yeah.
So you have to know where it is. But yeah, those first couple of takes were, and not terrifying like you're about to jump off this building terrifying, like the most extreme form of feeling exposed I've ever experienced. Like just feeling nude in front of, and not even nude, like
There's a sense of vulnerability that
unbelievable.
is unmatched
Yeah.
in life.
And it doesn't happen. It's not the same kind of fear. It is just not the
No.
same kind of fear. Different terror altogether.
So then now let's talk about dialogue scenes.
Let's talk about dialogue scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As opposed to comfortably driving and saying a few things.
Yeah.
How many takes before you feel, is there a sense of, yeah, I got this? There's nothing to it, really.
Oh no, there's.
Because it's all about, in Quentin's mind, I'm sure it is, I know how easy she is in her own person.
Yes.
And I know how, and I believe I know how to get that from her.
Yes.
And so it's about removing all the insecurity and the obstacles that one puts in front of, between themselves and the camera.
Yeah.
And getting to the, can you just be you for a second?
Yeah.
Because that's really all I want to capture.
Which is two things. One, his dialogue is unequivocally important, and it to be said as it's written. But also, I think he knew that the one thing he could give me was that if I knew my dialogue inside out, then I could potentially be me inside of it instead of
searching.
Yeah, exactly.
What am I supposed to say next? Yeah.
And what happens, and what if I, I don't know. I think being as sort of inexperienced or ignorant or thrown in from a sudden place as I was, there's advantages and disadvantages. And I look back now, obviously I look at now and I'm like, oh my God, I would love to do that movie again. I would love to do that movie again now. It would be such an interesting experience to do it, to play myself again now that I'm far more relaxed and comfortable and have a whole different skill set that I've acquired over the years that I just absolutely did not have then. But so there's an advantage and disadvantage, and the disadvantage is I didn't have any tools. So when I was feeling like frozen, I didn't have any go-to to get out. Advantage being I had Quentin, of course. So one of the big things was when we did the big sort of the Reservoir Dogs shot around the table. He was like, look, you know what it feels like when you've traveled from New Zealand to here and you're tired and you haven't really been to bed yet and you can't decide whether you're hungry or not hungry, and I was like, yep, I absolutely know that feeling. He was like, well, that's what you're like right now. And I was like, okay, so what do you, and we're talking about meals and stuff, and he's like, but you're not hungry. And I'm like, yeah, I'm usually either starving or not hungry and don't know what he was like, crackers, give her crackers. I was like, oh, crackers. And he was like, yeah, just nibble on them. And without realizing it, he was giving me the tools to distract myself from what I was doing. Right. And it sounds so simple, but the crackers enabled me to just be totally present with the girls that I was with. We had a couple of weeks of rehearsals with him too, so we'd got very comfortable with each other. And we used to go to I'd call up the girls and be like, I need more help with my lines and stuff. I'm feeling really uncomfortable. I'll supply the wine if you guys come to, and they would just all come to my room and we'd sit there and we'd just read through the script 100 times. So that was very comfortable. And the crackers somehow let me access all of that. It's like just having something that was something that I normally would do, Zoe would do physically. It was now like I had something to do, so that when Abernathy said something, I could interrupt myself with a thought. I could interrupt myself with, and it was not until afterwards, and I said to him, I was like, how come eating crackers made that so much easier? Like I really had no understanding of it. And he kind of explained it to me, and I was like, oh yeah, that's why I am so lucky to be in the situation I'm in with you. It's like jumping in the deep end, but the water's warm and Quentin are my floaties. You know what I mean? I'm just like, this could be terrifying, except for I'm so supported by the women around me and him, and to the point where we did 9 pages of dialogue or something in that one shot. And Quentin came up to us afterwards and was like, guys, nailed it, 9 pages or whatever. And everyone was like, oh my God, we did, that's amazing, blah, blah. And I was like, 9, is that a lot? Like I didn't even understand. But I didn't understand.
No, you didn't.
Which was the other advantage. Is there was certain things that should have terrified me that didn't, because I didn't know they were scary.
Yeah. No, 1 full page of dialogue for any one actor to get through.
Yeah.
Is crazy.
Yeah.
And nausea causing.
Yeah.
9 pages.
Now, that's the thing, is now I think I'd look at 9 pages in a single shot and be like, just having panic attacks. At the time I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. I mean, I also knew the script.
I'll need some animation from many of the fans, listeners, viewers out there of Quentin as floaties, if that's possible.
Me wearing Quentin as floaties?
Yep. I need Zoe floating in a pool and Quentin Tarantino are the floaties.
Oh, that sounds adorable.
Send that to kpcsfanmail@gmail.com, please.
I would love a copy of that if it arrives.
Yes. Oh, no. I'm going to have it framed for you.
We'll send one to Quentin too, see if he gets the reference.
Yeah.
He'll be like, what the fuck is that?
Jamie?
I have a death-proof question.
Please.
Now, did you do all of your own stunt work?
No,
or
excellent
did
question.
Quentin
Did you
say,
allow-
well, I don't want one of the old
You
single
know,
digits
I
on
might
the
be
call
feeling a
sheet
little
here."
precious now, seeing as I'm an actor and all.
Getting banged
no,
up.
I did every second of it. It was, excuse the pun, but deathly important to both Quentin and I.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just and no more one than the other. Like the insurance companies were having a bit of an issue, understandably.
bet.
I really want to strap your lead actress to the front of a car and go 90 miles an hour, and that's fascinating. We got them down to believing that we were only ever going to go 40. Lies. But Quentin was like, I won't shoot the movie unless she's doing it. I won't shoot the movie with her doubled.
Yeah.
And at one point I was like, well, that's a bit extreme. I mean, still kind of want you to shoot the movie. I mean, it's a big opportunity for me, Quentin. Let's not be so hasty, you know. But it was Paramount, and there was one point which he's brought up to me because I'd kind of forgotten it, but that there's a shot of my hand on, I think it's on the belt or on, you know, the front bumper or something. And that we'd done a bunch of me on the bonnet, and that they were like, we want to reshoot, so they were going to let me rest and have someone else's hand for the. And I caught wind of it and was like, wait, whose hand? Why isn't it mine? And they were like, oh, we're giving you a rest. And I was like, no, that's my character, that's my shit. That's my, you know. And Quentin was like, I think he was even willing to let someone else do it at that point because it's nothing stunt oriented, but it was in my head I get very territorial about my characters. I don't even like when someone else is doubling a character that I'm doubling. You know what I mean? I get like,
Yeah, sure.
I'm very unterritorial in life in any other capacity except for when it comes to work. And so every inch of that is me on those wires. There's one shot where it's a dummy, and he may fire me from life in general for even mentioning it because I think it makes us both very angry. But the stunt coordinator was like, I won't. Stunt coordinator also was like family to me. He was like, I'm scared I will kill my daughter by doing this. I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, well, good
Yeah.
for him and or her.
Yeah, very good for him. And her being his wife was the driver, and she was like, thank you, honey, because I don't really want to kill our daughter, so appreciate it.
It is a family affair.
Yeah.
Kenny, can I trouble you for a bottle of water out of the cooler there? I've got a little dry in my cup. How's your water?
I forgot that I had it.
You've got water. I'm, you know, I like to stay hydrated. In the summer months, please, people out there, August approaching, try to stay hydrated.
We had a campaign in New Zealand in the summertime that's called Slip, Slop, Slap.
Say that again.
Slip, Slop, Slap.
And that, of course, means...
Slip on...
There you go.
on a t-shirt, slap on a hat, and slop on some sunscreen.
Slip, slop, slap.
Yeah.
Sure.
It's because in New Zealand, we have a hole in our ozone, which we think may be your fault, you guys.
I'm sure it is.
Nope.
I blame Al Gore.
I can tell you exactly what it is, and you know what it is.
Cow's farts.
That's correct. It's the methane from all those cows.
Cow's farts.
It's sheep farts,
Cow
actually,
and
because
sheep
it's
farts,
New Zealand.
yeah.
Right?
That is,
That's what they reckon it is.
Figured it out.
But we have a thing called burn time on our weather. So in the morning, on the morning TV where it goes, the high today will be blah, blah, the low today will be blah, blah, burn time, 7 minutes. They literally have burn time, and it is like 7 minutes. And you burn. You can feel it when you're sitting out there, you can feel it prickling on your skin. So slip, slop, slap is like how to avoid skin cancer. Slip, slop,
7
slap.
minutes. Yowza.
7
Yowza
minutes.
you.
15 minutes today, yeah.
Favorite
anyway.
part about working with me in a motion picture?
Favorite thing? Your missus.
Ah, good answer. Wow, startling. 2 wins for the price of 1. We
No,
did.
how fun was that, though?
We did recently work together in a motion picture, which I thoroughly enjoyed.
It was awesome.
A last-minute fill-in, and we got to be at a bar and pretend to be drunk. It was fantastic.
So much fun.
I'm still recovering from the size of the drink that they
The bucket of
gave
alcohol.
me. I wasn't sure. I was afraid to ask what it was I was actually sipping.
I feel like at that point you just don't ask.
Nope,
You're
don't
better
ask.
Better off not knowing.
It's a-
Anything that comes with more than 5 straws, I think you're better off not asking what it is.
And also the size of a bird bath pool.
Yeah.
Easily.
Easily.
Um,
And orange, was it not?
let's
Blue.
say some sort of
Bright.
nuclear
Yeah.
orange. Jamie, your last opportunity,
I want to talk about Kurt Russell
please.
because
I would love to talk about
Yes,
it.
Please.
anything that you could share from that, because Quentin always has that ability to like resurrect a career, and I feel that was Kurt Russell's moment, and he's so brilliant in that movie.
Yeah.
He makes eating nachos look cool.
Yeah. He makes eating nachos disgusting,
But yet,
but cool.
But cool.
Yeah. And somehow kind of sexy too, which kind of
Yes,
creeps me out.
exactly.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy handsome, beyond a version of a man's man,
Charming
with
as
the hunting
all
and the
shit.
fishing and all of that.
Yeah. And the sports and the
Wildly
racing cars.
unassuming. I don't know how he has that little tiny waist, or he certainly did when we worked together.
Oh yeah.
And has had 6 careers. You know, he was the computer that wore tennis shoes as a teenager
Yeah.
in movies. And then a minor league baseball player who pretty much walked away from show business. Fuck this.
Yeah.
and also is an exceptionally deep thinker.
Yep.
We had Craig
Oh.
Ferguson?
Ferguson on this very show.
Oh, really?
Talk about how Kurt turned him on to flying airplanes.
Oh, yeah. I know. I don't quite understand how Kurt's fit as much life into his life as he has.
If you want to feel like a loser,
Yeah, hang out with Kurt.
befriend Kurt Russell.
But then the problem is, you just instantly feel like less of a loser when he wants to be your friend.
Yes. Boom.
Ta-da!
Shattering.
Just like that. What does that mean?
That was life meta.
Yeah. My experience with Kurt, because I've now worked with him twice, is that on Kill Bill, not on Kill Bill, on Death Proof. I remember saying to him like, so this acting thing, I don't even know how to have this conversation, but have you got any tips? Like, what do you say to that? Have you got any tips on acting to a guy who's been?
You said that to Kurt Russell.
I said that to
on
Kurt
the
Russell.
most recent.
No, this was on Death Proof.
On Death Proof.
And he was like, look, you've either got that sort of thing or you don't got that sort of thing. You've got that kind of thing. So you just need to relax. And he was like, and take classes just so that you can relax. And I was like, it's a fucking great idea. And I ended up doing that. I took classes because just by obviously classes then teach you the skills. But it was so too early for him to try and impart any kind of wisdom around that. And I just don't think he would anyway.
No.
He's like, look, this is the thing. If you're enjoying it and you love it, do as much of it as you can. And, but relax.
Yeah.
And I was just like, that's a genius. And then at the very end, when we're all beating him up, spoiler alert, we're all throwing punches. And of course, I'm all intimidated because now I'm doing the one thing I'm meant to not suck at. Like, if I suck at acting, I'm like, it's your fault, Quentin. You did that, not me. I never said I could. Now we're beating up Kurt
You've got
Russell.
to properly punch Kurt Russell.
Yeah, and I actually punched him. I clipped him on the nose. And he was like, really? Punched by the stunt guy? Just outed me. And I was like, threw me under the bus completely. And then that night, of course I was feeling terrible about it. And I was like, is that bad? Is this bad? And then that night at the bar, he bought me a whiskey and we cried with laughter about it. And then he's brought it up a couple of times since too. I think he actually loved it. Like, but I was mortified.
Badge of honor for him.
Yeah, totally. And then working with him on Hateful Eight is just, it's that kind of moment where you're like, it's so that family moment too. And he had a big night at his house a while ago where he invited a bunch of people over and, had his meat because he ranches and his wines that are amazing. And at the end I was just like, oh man, I'm actually going to, I don't often say like, I'm going to miss you to people because I feel like why say it unless you actually mean it. And you get kind of used to leaving people on movies and I don't miss a lot of people.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah,
you
totally.
will come and go.
Kurt, I miss.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. And he was like, I'm going to miss you too. I feel like you're sort of like a daughter to me. And I was like, okay, stop. Because now I'm actually going to bawl my eyes out and it's going to get really embarrassing.
Yeah.
But he's like, he's definitely a favorite.
Oh, by far. And
Just an amazing person.
yeah.
He could be my accountant and I'd feel this way about it. You know what I mean? I'd be
Yeah.
like, I'm going to miss you. I can't. Next tax year, I'm going to cry.
How long were you on the new Western titled, what?
Hateful Eight. The Hateful Eight.
The Hateful
Such a good title.
Eight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was in training for it since November last year till whenever we wrapped March or something
Because
this
you
year.
weren't as familiar with horseback riding as...
Horseback riding would have been less of a big deal or less of a transition for me because I've been falling off them and flipping on them and doing what have you for most of my career anyway, on and off. Driving a 6-horse coach, completely foreign.
6-horse coach.
You know Wells Fargo?
Sure I do.
Yeah.
Been with him for 32 years.
Looks like that. Just imagine that little person that's on the wagon is me with 6 horses. That's what that looks like.
Wow. The old Tim Thomerson bit from Stagecoach. There
Tell-
was a comedian back in the 70s who did an amazing impersonation of all of those sounds
Oh,
of
really?
that scene of the whip
Oh, yeah.
cracking and the horse. I mean, the whole thing. He
Yeah.
was extraordinary at it. So there you were in real life with 6 horses in front of you and you're riding the coach and this could all go horribly wrong in a
Horribly
heartbeat.
wrong. And really, really horribly wrong. And I think the biggest difference is I'm used to being like, say, the one on the front of a car where the person who's most terrified is my on-set mum, Tracy Dashnor, who's driving the car. She's the one that's like, oh, well, I'm glad you're having a good time out there because I'm shitting my pants every second that I'm going to kill you. Now it's my turn to be in that position. Like, if it all goes wrong, I could get hurt. But I've got Lee beside me in the car. I've got Lee Horsley, important, awesome person that I really don't want to kill, and 6 horses that I don't want to kill, and a picture coach of which there's only one. So I certainly don't want to kill that either. You know,
No.
like there's a lot of killing that I don't want to happen.
And this is over rough terrain or some sort of terrain that's
Snow.
at least authentic.
Oh my
Snow?
Snow. But and
Real snow.
Real snow. Well, because I start off outside of Los Angeles with 1 horse and a little cart, which I've also never done. Then we moved to 2, and I'm like, oh, this is weird. Then we moved to 4, and I'm like, I don't quite understand why I haven't died yet, but I'm working on it. Then we moved to Denver, and we start doing 6 in the snow around this one big field.
And how fast? You're flying.
There's a couple of times that we're flying. Not until we're actually shooting do I do any when we're really. I mean, they give me a feel of what it feels like to go full tit. But the good thing about the snow is when you're going full tit, there is a little.
It sounds
bit
like you're saying full tit. Just so you know.
I was saying full tit.
Okay, good.
No, that's fine.
Just so you know.
All right.
Yeah.
I want to learn the lingo.
Yeah. I don't. No, that's just one of those ones that I've always got wrong, and I think that I just now I just own it really.
I'll use it till the day I die.
Yeah, full tit.
Full tit.
That the snow kind of acts as a bit of a buffer. If you're going uphill in the snow, the horses will at some point get tired. You're like, please get tired, please get tired. But it was more just the amount of intricacy that was involved, and it wasn't me making my body do something. I wasn't trying to get my body to do something I wanted it to do. I was having to control other free spirits.
Yeah.
Other free.
Wow.
That was just. It was terrifying. And the cowboys that taught me, they've worked on every. I mean, if you looked at their web, you're just like, these people are legends, and they're real cowboys.
Actual cowboys. Yeah.
Actual cowboys,
Yeah.
just like softly spoken, hardly say anything. Monty was the one that I sort of did a lot of my training with. At one point, I cut a corner too, and we were going slowly. I cut a corner too early because you've got to make the first ones go and hold the back 4, and then make you.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and then your wheelers. You know, otherwise you just tee or you start dragging across things. Anyway, so at one point I didn't get it right, and Monty was like, "All right, gonna have to back it up." And I was like, I'm sorry, what, there's a reverse button on this thing? Like, and he just got in there and started making weird little noises and little tugs on the thing and got all 6 horses to reverse, to back up.
In
I was
time.
just like, in time. He reversed time. He just backed this thing up.
That's
and
the
was
part
just
that
like,
I
this
think
is
we're
it.
not wrapping our brains on. I'm glad you mentioned the potential T and the dragging and the 2 going one direction, the 4 going in the other, because we just imagine, look at the 6 horses working so well in tandem.
Oh, yeah. No.
No, they've got their own thoughts.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily like each other.
No, and they'll bite at each other, and then the ones in the front go slow, and the ones behind are dragging, and if they're dragging too much, I mean, it's literally 6 individual horses with like 8 fingers, and that's all I have. That's all I've got. I'm like, I don't have any extra to work with these guys, and it was,
Yikes.
yeah, terrifying. Awesome though.
When do we believe this film will be released? Do we know?
I believe Christmas,
Yeah,
but
right.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't quote me. Yeah.
Oh, so excited.
I know. Merry
So
Christmas.
Excited.
Such a sick cast. It just looks. It's just unreal.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited to see it.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I cannot thank you enough for joining us today. Do you believe that roughly 2 hours has gone by?
Wow, no, and not a single beer. That's amazing.
I asked if there was anything we could have
No,
for
I
you.
don't mean it like
and
that.
There's a whole cooler behind
Yeah,
you
we-
filled.
No,
damn
no.
it.
What I mean
May
is,
we pop
can
one for
steal
you
a
now?
beer.
oh yeah, I'll take
Okay.
one now. No, but what I meant was normally time goes faster when I'm drinking beer.
Yeah, okay.
So I'm surprised that it's gone so quickly. With just the agua.
You want to pick her a winner from the?
Oh, there's like
Cooler?
70 choices.
Oh, okay.
And there's some good beers in there. So you should take a look.
Yeah, we'll let you take a look first. In fact, we'll wrap things up nicely so that you can. There is a tradition on this show I did not warn you about. It's going to take you a little outside of your comfort zone. You're going to have to improvise some comedy.
Oh dear.
But the good news is it's self-contained. It's going to be over in a matter of seconds, and there's technically no way to fuck this up.
Ooh,
So-
I've fucked stuff up when people have said that
But
before.
that's when it's great.
Mm.
Yeah. So there's really no way to fuck it
Oh,
up.
good.
So it's called the Larry King game, and it kind of goes like this. We love that moment when Larry used to have a show on the CNN, when he would like to go to the phones. We're going to Ohio, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes he would look into the camera and share something about himself that no one gave a shit about. And I mean no one.
No one gave a shit about.
Nope. Little king moment. Oreo cookie's my favorite. That's
Right.
just a horrible, no one
Dull.
cares. And that's the moment we're asking you to create for us. That's Larry King game. So we want a bad Larry King impression. No pressure there. Doesn't matter how you do Larry King. There's no way to fuck that up. I want a bad one. I don't want a good one.
Right.
I want a bad one. And then as Larry, share something into the camera about Larry.
Okay. About Larry.
This morning I shit myself. Whatever it
Yeah,
is. It
yeah.
just can't be that now that I've said that.
Oh, and that was totally what I was saying. Damn.
And then go to the phones, and if the name of the city is funny sounding, maybe somewhere from the New Zealand, maybe that doesn't hurt. So, it's Larry King. He shares something in the camera, and then he goes to the phone, and that's the whole bit. There's no way to. Well, there's your camera. Whenever you're ready.
It's someone from
That's it.
somewhere. That's what's on the phone.
Yeah,
I've never
we're-
gone to the phones.
We're
in
going
my
to the
life.
phones. We're going to, and then the name of the city.
Just the city, not
Just,
the person.
Bill from Poughkeepsie.
Yeah.
Or some version of that.
Well, now that was mine too, and now I can't.
You were not going to do Poughkeepsie.
Can't do. I shit myself this morning.
And
You can't
Bill
go Bill
from
from Poughkeepsie.
Poughkeepsie.
Many people have chosen Poughkeepsie, by the way.
Really?
Popular.
So it's really off the table. If I hear Intercourse, Pennsylvania one more time, I'm going to kill somebody.
Which?
Yep, that's a place.
Okay.
So there's your camera. When you're
This is
ready,
my
you are
camera.
Larry King.
Oh, I am Larry
And you
King.
are sharing something about Larry, and then go to the phone.
Do I say I'm Larry King?
You can. People have.
People
You don't
need
have to.
know. I had spots on my ass this morning. And we're going to the phones in Fuck a Papa.
That's how you play the Larry King game, ladies and Jews. The Zoe Bell, please sit there uncomfortably for 19 seconds while I wrap this show up.
I would love
To the folks at home.
I'll just keep talking to my friend.
Please
Fuck
do.
Papa.
I want to thank again Sean Casey and the fine folks here at the West Side Comedy Theater. Jamie and I will return this evening to watch Dana Carvey and the boys, Tom and Dex, do a little stand-up comedy. Very excited about that. Evil Kenny Chen, the Mike Dooman, the Jason McIntyre, the Sam Levine and Jamie Foxx. Thank you so much, Samantha Ward and makeup. And we missed Natalie Rosen today.
Yeah.
She's doing a bang-up job as the executive assistant to yours truly, so I want to thank her for that. Don't forget to watch, we never got to the clip. We're going to actually leave you with the clip. J-Mac, is that a thing I can do? Yeah. So when I go to the sign-off, we'll show you a clip from the High Roller Celebrity Poker Shootout, or something like that, it's called. It debuts on July 29th. Watch premiere West Coast from 3 to 6, re-airing at 11:30 p.m. Check your local listings. The NBC Sports Network is the name of it. And there'll be multiple airings thereafter. Check for that. The High Roller Super Celebrity Shootout, something to that effect. May or may not be a show next week. Don Cheadle just locked up, I believe, August 23rd. We'll have that sweet, fine son of a bitch also featured in that poker shootout thing I mentioned. And some other great shows as well. We'll keep you posted. Sam, you... Oh, the website, website's back? KPChatShow.com, a skeleton version of it is back. We've been down for a long time. People have been wondering what the fuck's the problem. I'll tell you what the problem is, people.
Josh Negrin.
Zing, bang, boom! And scene. Funny because it's true. So,
Well, Mikey's listening. Because, you heard, he doesn't need us anymore. He decided to, do his own thing, go his own way.
J-Mac is...
I'm doing this solely for J-Mac
Yeah.
and Corey.
Yeah, okay, good. Did I forget anyone?
Yeah, I just have a quick plug.
Yeah, please. Sammy, please. Plugs.
Just a super quick plug.
Yeah.
The new vacation movie that Jamie made sure I got cut out of opens this Friday. And even though I'm not in it,
I see.
I do
Don't
want
go
people
see
to go
it.
see
Don't
it.
see it.
Because
Don't see it. It's abysmal.
my dear friend John Francis Daly
Don't let them keep making movies like this.
co-wrote and co-directed it, and
No.
I very much hope that people go out and see it.
You're wishing him well.
I am wishing him
Even
well.
though
I
you're-
like him.
Even though your part did not end up in the film.
No.
All right. Well, Sam, as you know, you've been hired to be in this film that I'm allegedly directing.
I hope that tests well.
And
also,
I,
otherwise
too-
my scene is right out.
I'm going to make the promise right here and now
Yeah.
that there's little to no chance that you'll be cut from the film.
Thank you.
Yeah. I think that's it for today's show. So when I say the usual sign-off, J-Mac, you will roll the clip? Yep. Okay, fantastic. And then the credits will follow? Yep. Sure. Also want to thank the fine folks at the New Tech for the TriCaster. I've been forgetting to do that, even though their names are listed in the credits. Until next time, and as always, get out of my face.
Five incredible stars, each with a passion for poker. Five gigantic personalities.
Do you like birds? Don't bring birdcage into this.
Five celebrities at one poker table.
That's interesting.
All in.
He's inside your head pretty good.
Only one will survive
What do you have to say that for?
to face one of these five pros.
I think you're a fabulous player. Thank you, Phil.
Five of the best poker players in the world.
Gone. Really? Okay, thanks. 1 second, please, Vanessa. Pretty brutal.
By the end, one celebrity, one pro heads up for the winner-take-all prize of $1 million.
It's intense, man.
It's the long shots
Okay, all right, let's do what we're doing, all right?
versus the big shots, and the battle is on.
Oh, come on. Yeah, right, Phil. Show her.
The super high roller celebrity shootout begins now.
Fire when ready, Captain.